You can just try to keep that
Close.
mic, yeah, semi-close.
So like here.
Yeah.
How
Rose can
like
check it
this
out.
close?
Yeah, normally like a fist away, you could pull it up into the side maybe if
Okay.
that would be easier so it's not
Yeah.
right in
There
your
we go.
way.
And headphones or no?
We
Doesn't
can do
matter.
headphones or no headphones, it's your call.
What do you think?
I like the
What
headphones. Some people are not fans of the
I
headphones
don't
because you can hear
mind.
your voice.
Yeah.
Do you want to try
We
it
were
and see
talking
it?
about that. I was like, well, I'm usually a fan of like going for it if we're gonna go for it.
Okay, I
You are gonna
appreciate
have
that.
to stay right here though and chill out. All right, so right side or left side? Good here?
I think if you flip it,
Okay.
wires in the back. Yeah.
Probably can hear better,
How does
right?
that sound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
definitely.
it. I think it adds a cool little flair to it.
Yeah, for sure.
I
I'm
can
all
go
about the
volume up,
headphones.
volume down.
As long as you tell me if my hair is all jacked
You're
up.
you're good. I'll let you know if it
Okay,
changes.
so about here.
Yep.
Okay.
How's the volume sound? I can
Good.
turn up the headphones, turn down the headphones.
No, it sounds about right.
Sounds good.
As long as she
Okay.
doesn't bang into stuff. We'll deal with you in a minute, Rose.
Get locked in. I can open up this sake you were awesome enough to bring us. This
Yes.
is I don't know anything about sake either.
I like the Junmai sake. It's meant to be served cold.
Okay.
Like most of the time when you go to sushi, Japanese restaurants, you get the hot sake, but a lot of times like 95% of sakes aren't supposed to be served hot.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever actually had sake.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're in for a treat. It has a little kick to it. My husband was making me laugh. He said, I saw him drinking a Truly, and I was like, I noticed he had a Corona, so I think drinking is acceptable.
Yeah, we've got you can't see it in the shop, but we've got our little
Yeah, I like it.
bar over there.
Well, the Trulies all just be like burping, and so the sake, yeah, it's good because it's a sipper, but
The Trulies are for when I'm feeling a little more like laid back. It's like,
yeah,
oh, we're not actually drinking. We're
yeah,
just like
having a
flavored
seltzer,
water.
having a flavored
Yeah.
water, yeah. You want to sit in your own chair? No, why don't you wait here for a minute? You'll have plenty of time to
And so
snore
we
it
were
out.
talking about Rose,
Yes.
who is our awesome companion here today.
Yes. Yeah.
And you said that you also have her brother.
Yes, Levi.
Her brother. Okay.
Yeah. We found a great breeder when we were starting to look again for Boston Terriers. I'm a big fan of rescue dogs and raising purebred dogs from puppies, and there's a big difference, but finding a good breeder that you really feel like is doing justice by the breed when
And not just cranking them out.
Yes, so not your trying to make a profit breeder, but one that's really trying to keep the heritage of the breed alive. So
Big difference in just their demeanor or how they kind of behave out of the gate.
I think when you get a purebred dog, when you look up the temperament and you look up what you're kind of in for, you can see what might be coming,
Mm-hmm.
and you can choose a dog not maybe based on looks, but what your lifestyle is like and what would best complement your life and also the dog as well. So raising a puppy is a big deal, and but also rescue dogs are amazing and wonderful. We've had probably more rescue dogs than we have had raised purebred puppies. And kind of you get what you see when you get a rescue dog too, but there can be a whole complex issue when it comes to raising puppies and rescuing a dog that you have to deal with, which I'm sure we'll delve into.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would imagine. Well, here, let's cheers.
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
That is so cool. And you don't take this like a shot, I'm guessing. You just kind of...
I mean, sometimes, yeah. I mean, the first
Sometimes-
one, but it's a good taster, maybe like half, and get a good taste for the flavors. And this was actually the owner
oh, that's really good.
of Little Japan recommended this one. I usually take down the rest of it and then, start over. They're great there. I really like that store a lot. It's a fun place to go. I'm kind of like a Japanese food fanatic, so, and tattoos.
I like the
as you
tattoos.
can
I was going to
see.
comment on those.
Yes.
Wow, I can already tell this is the start to a great podcast.
Oh, very good. Thank you. And I'm excited to be here.
So, Little Japan, do you go to Japan?
No, we've never
You're just a
been.
fan
That
of the
is like
sake.
a huge bucket list. Like we have to go at some point. Me and my husband. It's somewhere we've wanted to go for a long time, but just haven't had a chance to yet. Now it's more complicated than ever with
Yeah,
the
travel
last-
across the borders right now is
Yeah,
a little...
it's complicated. Yeah, but we're hoping that that'll change. We'll be able to have an easier time with that at some point. We'll definitely get there for sure.
Is that the first big trip you're planning after everything kind of eases up again?
Maybe internationally, yes. Like we haven't been on a plane in a really long time, so we tend to.
I hear the masks
we tend-
are off now. You don't have to wear them.
Which is a good thing. I'm not a big fan of the masking.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it's been difficult with dog training, having to deal with masks.
Do you have to wear them? Do you have a lot of people in your staff? We should open this up because we dove in. You are with Redwood Coast Canine.
Yes.
It is your baby.
Yes.
Do you have a lot of employees with that?
I have 3 canine employees.
Okay.
And that is it. It's me. Obviously, I have a sidekick, my husband, who's very supportive, but it's me and my 3 dogs that we currently have that help me from a canine aspect. But yeah, it's a one-woman show. A lot of people assume that it might be a bigger thing because I do call it an academy, but it is definitely just me running the whole thing. So it's a lot. But
I would imagine.
I
How many
love it.
dogs do you normally have coming in?
A lot of dogs in my group classes. So I can be anywhere from, maybe on a low end of 45 dogs per week up to 75, depending on how many classes I have running and how many private training students I'm working with. So it can be intense.
75 per week that's a lot of dogs.
It's a lot of humans too, to work with and communicate with.
And they're probably harder to work with than the dogs, huh?
Generally, yes. Yeah.
Funny how that works out.
The dogs are easier to communicate with, and to get to open up. You can see them and deal with them, I think, a little bit easier than you can with the humans sometimes. So, but dog training is usually essentially human training. So
really?
Yeah.
In what way?
If the person doesn't know how to, react and deal with their dog and, provide structure and discipline and boundaries for their dog and the needs that that particular dog or breed type or personality, really needs, then there can be a lot of problems that come up along the way in development, or if they rescue an adult dog. And, the balance is all about, giving out resources in a way that the dog can earn them, because most dogs really don't want to just get a lot of love for free. They really like to work. They have a working mindset, whether it's a hunting dog or a herding dog, or just like these guys I like because they've been bred for a long time to be companions. And so they're really good at just being your sidekick. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people tend to choose a dog maybe based on looks without really delving into the temperament and what they might have to provide for the dog to keep them mentally sound. So, yeah.
That's a big thing you hear with German Shepherds, right?
Yeah.
Is those dogs require a lot of work.
Yeah, and they're a really popular breed here in Humboldt County. Absolutely. And yeah, there's a lot of dogs like that. There's the herding, the shepherd type, mentality, but that particular breed is actually, they're not very independent. They're kind of a little bit insecure and dependent upon their owner to give them instruction and give them a job. So they're really kind of aching for that. So it takes a certain personality to have a really well-balanced, mentally shepherd type breed. So yeah, absolutely.
You just have to supply a lot of discipline for that breed in particular?
I think so. And every dog's different. So we've had a lot of pit bulls. That's been one of our favorite breeds since we moved to Humboldt County. And every one that we've had has been a little bit different. I would say all but one that we got as a puppy were rescues. I did some good time at Miranda's Rescue as a volunteer. And I also worked as a veterinary technician at Fortuna Vet for 15 years.
Oh, wow. Oh, so opening your own academy was right up your alley.
It was. It was kind of a shocking surprise when I got started, but, all the time spent working with dogs and people in a controlled setting, it kind of led up to this whole training, division of the work being kind of a well-suited thing. Rose, we're going to move you on over to your own seat there. So yeah, the work at Miranda's Rescue and the vet clinic, created up to 8 dogs at one point in our household that we had dealing with. But we love them all. They're all very different, but you do get some breed-specific traits and personalities that you're going to be kind of dealing with when you get a specific breed of dog.
I don't think a lot of people know that, do they?
I don't think that they necessarily look into it, or perhaps they don't take the time to maybe really honestly look at this dog's going to need this, and this, but maybe more so this dog's going to be really cool, or I love the way this dog looks.
That's the big thing, is the look.
The
especially with Huskies. It's always the look.
The Huskies, I had a client just saying that 2 days ago about the Huskies being on TikTok and Instagram and all over the place, and they're howling and they're yelling and all of that. And I mean, they're a complex dog. They're beautiful dogs. I think that's a lot of the draw for people, is what a dog looks like. That can be the initial draw in, and sometimes it's hard to steer away from wanting that dog if it doesn't necessarily fit your lifestyle. So that's where I can see a lot of clients really struggling to have a well managed or well behaved dog. So
When a lot of people come to you, is it right when they get the puppy, or is it down the road when it starts getting a little more
it's a
chaotic?
mix. So a
Okay.
lot of people, I think, they think I just do puppy classes and group classes, but 50% of my day is spent working with people with really intense issues with their dogs, from aggression, biting, dog reactivity. I call it reactivity because not all dogs are actually aggressive towards other dogs, but the leash creates issues. And so, my favorite thing to do really is puppy preschool, which I just had a new group of human students last night. They're not allowed to bring their puppies the first night, so they
Oh,
come.
because you're really just focusing on them.
Them, yeah, and that class is designed for puppies that aren't fully vaccinated yet. So the big issue with dogs, the biggest concern with underage puppies is parvo virus. But the dog's socialization window, they say, is roughly 1 to 13 weeks of age. And once it closes, you miss out on a huge opportunity of socialization ability. They're like little sponges, absorbing all of this information, data, and different things when they're young like that. But we're always taught to keep your puppy safe at home until they're fully vaccinated. And so a lot of people sadly miss out on the opportunity to maximize the social window. So I created this class with my former bosses at Ferndale Fortuna Vet, and we talked about how to make a safe environment for puppies to come if they're not fully vaccinated. So having an indoor location to train, having the owners informed about parvo, and having the mandatory orientation where they don't bring the puppies, checking and monitoring the vaccine status of the puppy for parvo. It's really my main concern. I'm not worried about them getting rabies necessarily, or things like that. But and then also having the puppies come and learn how to be around other dogs right away. So we do off-leash play. We do a lot of basic training cues. One thing I do is I go in before the class starts and I sanitize the entire room. Not even necessarily for the human's sake, but that turned into a bigger issue the last couple years for COVID. But bleach kills parvo very easily, but not outside in the dirt and in the ground. So I can have people carry their puppies into a room that I've cleaned, and as long as everybody's kept their puppies safe outside the classroom by keeping them from being in a public location, then they're perfectly safe from parvo.
And what is parvo? Is that a dog-to-dog
It
disease?
is.
It
It's
is.
dog to
Okay.
dog virus. It's been around a long time and it's really resilient in the dirt, in the ground. So it can live in the ground for up to 6 months.
Is it
Uh,
like a fecal matter thing that
it
gets?
is.
Okay,
It's
that's
like
the big one,
so I
right?
told people last night, it's poop to mouth,
Yeah.
and puppies love to put dirt and grass and all kinds of things in their mouth. So that's where the issue lies. But it's really, it can't be passed on from humans to dogs or cats or birds. In your own yard and family members or friends' yards and places like that, if you carry your puppy places, they can't get it. It's when they're spending time outside in public locations. So that's when they're at risk for it. But once their series of vaccinations are over, most dogs are pretty well covered. They do have to have boosters from time to time, but those puppy boosters are the most important ones for that one.
And is that life-threatening, parvo?
Yeah,
Okay.
and spending all those years at the vet clinic, it's pretty tough to watch puppies have to fight that at the vet clinic, being on IVs, and it attacks the digestive tract. And so they're pretty miserable and they get dehydrated really quickly and they can't keep food down. And so that's, it's pretty tough when they get it. You don't see it a lot as long as people are doing what they're supposed to and being cautious. What you do see more of is dogs being relinquished to shelters and being euthanized at adulthood because of behavior issues. So that's why I feel like the risk taken to do a class like that, over parvo versus behavior issues down the road, there's a huge advantage to doing it, and a big reason to make sure that you get your puppy out in a safe way as soon as possible. If you're going to choose a puppy, you need to hit the ground running right away.
If you miss that 13-week window, is that kind of not necessarily a guarantee, but it starts edging more towards it being a violent dog?
Not necessarily violent, but even fearful dogs. So if a puppy comes to class and they're terrified of everybody else in the room and the other dogs, those are the ones that for me, are the most fun ones to watch over it's a 5-week course. So they're there for 4 weeks, just an hour once a week. You can see these amazing transformations in like that really shy puppy. And then there's a person that shows up with a puppy they're like terrified of because they're a total maniac. And they're just looking for somebody to help them wrangle their tiny beast before it gets too big. Large breed dogs are really, really attractive to people here in Humboldt. I see more of them than I do small breed dogs. I think part of that too, though, is people with small breed dogs tend to not feel the need or urge to do training early because they're little.
Yeah, you feel like you can take it.
Yeah.
If a pit bull goes sideways, it's a little more risky, but
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, if a Yorkie is a little aggressive, it's like, okay, just don't touch him.
Yeah,
keep him on the
or
ground.
people just like, oh, pick him up.
Yeah.
If he's acting like a jerk and, carry him off. Yeah, where you
Yeah,
can't.
put him in your purse and walk away. Like,
You can't do that with a large breed dog.
Yeah.
But I sure love seeing small dogs in classes too, because I feel like they need it just as much as any other dog for sure. Yeah. So
yeah.
I'm gonna reach for my cup here.
No, you're good. This is really good, actually.
You like it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of nice and clean, little crisp.
It's very refreshing too.
Yes.
And sake's just rice wine or rice.
Essentially, yeah,
right?
Fermented rice. Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert again.
All your trips to Japan, I was going to quiz you.
Right? Oh, I want to go so badly. Yes.
My sister went when she was, I believe, in high school. She went with a group from the high school, and they went out there for, I believe, the summer. On like an exchange program, and then we had them come over, an exchange student come over from Japan and stay with us.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was a really cool cultural perspective of,
yeah, I bet.
This is a completely different world for them.
I haven't spent a lot of time with, Japanese people in particular, but I think the obsession started when I was really young because my grandma went to Japan a couple of times when I was really, really young. And so, most of the things in her house were from Japan. And so everything I saw and she taught me about, she was a big fan of sake, was all about Japan. And then me and my husband, we have this picture up in our living room of my grandpa. He was in World War II and he was in the Navy and ended up in Japan eventually at the end of the war. And there's a picture of him in his uniform about this big, underneath this big, giant Buddhist statue. So I think some of the things that I just saw and observed as a small child. Yeah, definitely. And then my husband, I think he got into the Japanese tattooing but a little before me. I got tattoos first, but just not the best choices as a teenager. But he specifically chose Japanese tattoos when he kind of got started working on his sleeves and stuff like that. So eventually I kind of got into that as well.
Is that a specific style like on your arm there? Is that
It
what
is
would be a Japanese
kind of like
style?
the Japanese style. Yeah, it's mostly one artist. He's Brian Kaneko, great guy. He's at True Nature Tattoo in Arcata. He's half Japanese. He's kind of the guru of, I would say, of Japanese tattooing here in Humboldt County. But it got started with him years ago, way up here with this little section of chrysanthemums, and it's just morphed.
That is an awesome sleeve, by the way.
It's morphed, yes.
Yeah.
I was able to finish it actually during COVID, which was really nice. Eventually, he was able to open his studio back up, and I had a Japanese artist come over, and he did a spot in his shop for a while several years ago, and that's where I got this first goldfish. And so he kind of posted that guy right there, and then Brian has filled the rest in. So it's very cohesive now.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was a lot of just little pieces, So, yeah, we're big fans of tattoos for sure.
Yeah, I'm eventually going to get one. I just don't want to be that guy that gets one at 24 and it's like, this was not a good decision.
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I'm getting to the age where I think I would make a smart decision and not get something I regret, but
I think that your younger generation, it seems like you guys definitely wait longer and think harder on it than I'm 42, so it's like just get out there and get some. And I have some ridiculous tattoos. I have a tiny dolphin on my big toe, which was my first tattoo. It's like, why would you get a dolphin on your toe?
Right.
But it was, at the time, it was fine. I'm not big on like lasering them off or covering them up. My husband does have one cover up, but it was to have a whole back piece, so it was for good reason. So yeah, I mean, I think being thoughtful about getting them, if you want to make sure that you do it correctly, is smart. It's wise. Sometimes people, I think, wait too long. So
And then you age out, and it's like, well, do you want to be 60 and get your first tattoo?
Yeah, your skin should be, ready for it, and you should be young enough too. But yeah, I mean, I think sometimes, I think it's smart to think it out too, not just go for it.
Yeah, the thinking out of what I want is big, and I also want to make sure I find a good artist. Because I've seen some great concepts for tattoos, and then they're just not implemented that well. I think that's the
most important things, finding somebody that is also good at what you want. So not expecting every artist to be good at everything. Yeah. So I mean, when somebody gets to a point like Brian did with specializing in just that, like he's probably not, trying to do, black and gray or, all American and stuff like that. He has other people come into his shop and, do what they do best too. So yeah, having an expert artist working on certain things
helps.
Definitely.
It helps. Makes a difference.
Absolutely. Yes.
What's interesting about Japan is that they're not fond of tattoos, right? Is that Yakuza thing still in place?
Yeah, and also I think it's like a social thing where even now we've done some research on, they still would expect you to cover up your tattoos. It is a Yakuza particular, like I think you can show your tattoos when you're not in public and when you're in that specific space, but it's very taboo to show them in public.
Which is crazy.
It is.
With how prominent they are all over the world now.
Yeah.
And just in culture in general. I mean, dating back, you have Buddhist monks that had tattoos.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think...
I don't know if they were actually Buddhist. I threw that out there like I knew that. But some monks,
there's so many different categories of Buddhism too, in different areas. We actually spent a little time like learning about Zen Buddhism and stuff like that. So I've learned about different areas of Buddhism and all their different philosophies. But I think, in Japan in general, they're very reserved culture. And so they're not... I shouldn't say they are not, but the feeling is that, they're the American style of like showing it off, I think there's some areas in Japan where they're all about like showing it off and dressing up and being all about it. But the older cultures are very reserved and they don't want you to show your tattoos, so, and maybe we're stealing a bit of that culture too as well, but I do it in a respectful way, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing, right? As long as it's respectful, and it's not like you're appreciating their artwork.
Absolutely.
I would think that putting that on your body is a huge compliment.
A compliment. That's how I like to see it. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a big commitment too. A lot of
commitment.
Black. Yeah.
But it looks good. I think that's the key thing, is just getting artwork that you appreciate, and then it also being visually appealing is like just a huge plus.
Yeah, and it's a lot of commitment and time and work, and people that say, "Oh, it doesn't hurt that bad." I'm like,
does it hurt a lot?
It doesn't hurt a lot. It hurts though.
Yeah.
Like you have to definitely find your like time frame for being able to handle it, and also a good artist knows too. So like for me, I'm like 3 hours, I'm good, and I'll come back and pay you for the next round in a month or 6 weeks when it's healed, because I'm good after 3 hours.
That's like your breaking point. Yeah, it's like, we could do a solid 3, and then it starts getting dicey.
The adrenaline starts to wear off. You take that first like bathroom break, and then you're like,
maybe I should go home now.
It's starting to hurt.
I think we're okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, my sister has a couple tattoos that are pretty cool. I'm a huge fan of tattoos. I just have to figure out where I want to go with it. I do want a sleeve eventually. I think a sleeve would be cool.
Start with somewhere non-visible, and then you'll get like desensitized to it.
Maybe not a face tat right off the bat.
Maybe not like a teardrop or like a hand tat. I'm big on like no hands or faces, necks, like just me personally.
Is that just because you can cover it up if you want to?
Yeah, okay. I don't know. For me, I like the bodysuit style because you can like cover it up, and it's kind of elusive that you can do that. And then I don't know, everybody's different. Like my tattoo artist has a beautiful like hand tattoo of a bird on his hand, and I think it's amazing. But for me, I just like the ability to be able to cover it up when I want to or need to,
Do you have to cover it up a lot?
Not really.
Yeah.
If I want to.
Yeah, that's the key.
I think I see in the wintertime, like when you were wearing long sleeve shirts and sweaters, and I'm with a group of people, and then all of a sudden it's like warmer out, and I'm wearing a t-shirt, you could see some people being like, whoa, holy. But I never get bad comments or like negativity. I just get a lot of like from some people. I'm sure they're like, why would you do that?
Some people still don't get it.
Yeah.
Right? I
And
think
they may
culturally it's
never.
way more accepted.
Oh, yeah.
But some people are
Your
still,
older generation, some of them are
yeah.
just never going to get it. I'm sure my mom is like, why would you do that, Janna? But she's, I think, has learned a long time ago that she's not going to be able to deter me from what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, my parents are not, they're not really against it, but they're definitely not fans of
Yeah,
tattoos.
my mom actually has a tattoo.
Oh, does she?
Yeah, one of our favorite artists who used to live here, Carl Haynes, he had a shop down on 5th Street. We moved here in 2001. And my husband decided to join the Coast Guard at the time. And so we just like got put in Humboldt. And that's how we ended up here. And so one of the first people we met was Carl and his wife. And that's how we kind of got into like the tattoo scene up here in Humboldt County.
Did you have tattoos before you came up here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a handful when I lived in Sacramento for a few years. I moved out of home in Tuolumne County, where I grew up my whole life, and did the junior college thing. I was kind of like a college dropout, but college was never like something that I was like aiming to
Set for.
conquer. But it was good for me at the time. It was like structured, and I was aiming to be a registered vet technician. But when me and Jason been together since '96.
Oh, wow.
And when he was kind of accelerating his career, he wanted to be a firefighter, but the firefighter position in general like was so competitive at the time back in 99, 2000. There'd be like 2,000 or more people trying to get one or two positions. And so it was so regimented, so difficult to get a job that he just said, I'm screwing, I'm gonna go in the Coast Guard. And he actually spent only 5 years in the Coast Guard, but he became a rescue swimmer. He like went all the way, like fast and hard. And so we spent quite a bit of time apart for about 2 years. So I said, it's either move forward, and we were engaged and moved to Humboldt with Jason. When I looked around a bit up here, being registered as a vet technician really wasn't a big deal. Like down in the Bay Area or Sacramento at the time, like a lot of places were looking for a registered vet tech.
There just wasn't the demand up here?
There wasn't as much demand or desire or need. There's very few things that you can or can't do as an RVT versus just like a vet assistant or technician, like intubating animals and placing splints, things like that. And so up here in Humboldt, people would it wasn't as much of a big deal. It was like you could make $1, maybe $2 more as an RVT. So instead of spending another year in SAC, getting that degree, I just decided to move up here with him and got a great job, and I was there for 15 years. So to me, it was like worth it to
makes sense
to move forward. Yeah, 'cause we were in a pretty solid relationship for quite a long time. So that was, for me at the time, it was obviously more important than staying in Sacramento and doing that. Yeah. So, and the dog training thing just kind of morphed over time. It was very strange, like how it started. My friend, who I actually worked with at a vet clinic in Elk Grove, she came up here, we had lunch one day. She was like an executive. She probably will tell me I'm wrong if she sees this, but her name's Miranda. And we had lunch, and she said, I'm here because I'm, executive, like partner director with Petco. And one of the stipulations for Petco now is that every Petco, they're trying to aim for having 2 dog trainers. And she's like, there's one there, and we're looking for a second one. She's like, why don't you do it? And I was like, dog trainer? This sounds totally weird. I was like, I don't know why would you do that. It was like completely outlandish to me at the time.
You hadn't done anything prior to that?
No, nothing at all. And she just kind of talked me into it. And I just thought, I really wasn't very like happy or feeling very fulfilled or driven at the vet clinic at the time. I was kind of like a lower end like assistant. And it was a very small clinic at the time. It's changed now. Up till now, there's a lot of employees there. It's grown a lot. But at the time, I thought, I really do need something else to like drive me. I'm feeling kind of stagnant, and I don't feel like I'm doing the 9 to 5, and I'm tired, and I'm only 25, and I'm feeling burnt out and just kind of like. So I thought, why not? It's one day a week. She said, I'll actually come up here and I'll do I'll mentor you from a distance. I'll do the mentoring, if you don't want to do it with the person that's there at the time. And I was like, why not spend more time with my friend? And if it's an hour a week and I'm going to learn more about dogs, all right, fine. So she really talked me into it. And it just grew and grew and grew. And I did 1 day a week and then turned into 2 days a week. And then after 3 years there, I had kind of felt like I needed to cut the cord. So I did like a year kind of floundering on my own, just like gathering people and like doing classes and things like that. And in 2011 was about the time, well, a little before that, Dr. Ozanian and Dr. Silver, who owned Ferndale Vet, they bought Fortuna Vet and they hired me on. So Dr. Ozanian in specific, Chuck, he's like one of my big mentors, and he really, like, as soon as we had our initial interview, we like clicked immediately, and he and I were like already brainstorming like ways to become, a better dog trainer, and they accepted the whole training program as an umbrella under the vet clinic, so I could expand without the fear and like nervousness of branching out on my own.
Because you were kind of working with them.
Yeah, it was a collective. They took a certain percent, and I was able to promote my business part-time and still be a full-time vet tech with them. And it's a perfect avenue because you see dog people all day, every day. And so
your clientele's right in front of you.
It is. Yeah. So I spent about 5 years, the back and forth, switching hats from tech to dog trainer. And it like slowly got down to like I was working 1 day a week. And I kept saying like to him, like, I just don't know. He's like, you're just going to have to like get the hell out of here. Like take a leap of faith and just go do it. And he was right, because like 2016, I finally just like turned the business over into my name. I quit my job there. It was like really scary at the time, but it just like blew up, and I, it hasn't been easy. It was never a decision that I had thought I would ever make to like be a business owner. That was never in the cards. Part of why I chose to be a vet tech was because like I don't want the responsibility of being a veterinarian, and also going to school for that long was like a total no-go for me.
Yeah, not appealing.
No, I mean I had a rough time just getting through high school. Not that I was like, not into it, but I'd rather be out doing other things, riding horses and like, doing things like that. Like,
yeah, not sitting at a desk all day.
No, I had a really hard time with that. So yeah, staying in school for me for something like that was like not in the cards. I've always been like a get out there and work. Like I got my first job at like 12, cleaning stalls
doing something
so that I could talk my mom into getting a horse, and then like riding out of stables and like leading like guided horse trail rides in Old Columbia. I don't know if you ever heard of Columbia.
No.
It's like an old mining town.
And you were leading your own
like
little
14
expeditions.
Like leading tourists like down a trail on horses, and taking care of the horses in the morning. We'd have to like haul them into town and back out and feed them, and it's like the summer job, and so yeah, I've always been like a worker, like I worked at a pizza place for like a really short period of time. That was the only like random job I had, but most of it's all been like animal driven, like a lot of volunteering at vet clinics. I had like a summer volunteer position at a horse clinic that was really cool down by Sacramento, and then I got started in Elk Grove. All they had was graveyard shifts 3 days a week, so I'd be like up all night working and then sleep part of the day and then go to school and then do that over and over. It's kind of insane.
It's a lot. That's a lot.
The benefit was having a really cool like technician and just you, and she was like teaching me tons of stuff at night when nobody else was there. There's nobody else like to help her. So that was actually a huge benefit because it wasn't during the day when they were too busy to like dedicate to teaching. She was like, get in here, like I need your help, you're gonna have to like do this for me or help me with
that's
this.
Awesome.
So yeah, she was a really Paige was her name. She was a really like great person that I worked with in those strange graveyard shifts for like 15 months, I think it was. It was weird though. Yeah, like 5 hours of sleep at night. You're like,
am I dreaming right now? Am I still awake? What is happening?
Yeah, well, when you're like 18, 19, 20, you're like, oh, I could do it.
Yeah.
Now I'd be like,
I can do it at 24.
One night I'd be like, I'm delirious, can't handle this.
It's not working for me.
I take naps now every day, and like, yeah, I'm a big nap
That's a good
advocate.
place to be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so the animal world has always been like my favorite place to be.
You just kind of gravitated towards that.
Yeah, and Miranda was really like the jump starter for that, to just like kind of be like, why not? And I was like, I guess why not? So yeah, once I started doing it full time, I just kind of really hauled ass to try to keep it moving forward. And that was, in the beginning, it was really fun, like going everywhere. Part of my goal was like see all corners of Humboldt, which is really interesting. I don't know how much you've everywhere in Humboldt, pretty, Alder Point Road and Neyland, top of Neyland and, Trinidad. And I did a hiking class for a long time too. That was a blast. I had adopted a dog, Daisy, who we still have. And she was a total asshole, basically. There's a whole story behind her. I don't know how much time we have.
No, you could, go into it.
Daisy,
what kind of dog was she?
She's a pit.
Okay.
I say she's got a 10th of lab in her because she just has a little bit of a softer face and she sheds like crazy. She's a cool story because it's just there is a lot of positive aspects to the internet and networking, and there's a lot of negativity with the internet that I don't like. And that's a lot of my business. I like it to be tangible and like in person with people because, the internet can be a harsh world. People are very critical. Like
in reference to your business or just social media?
Everything, social media. Yeah. And I've in the past, I'll post this or that opinion or whatever about, positive or negative things. And you just like get backlash and this, but that. But when you share like success stories and like, things like that, it feels good. And so when Daisy first, I got this video from a lady. Her name's Janna Campillo. She had a rescue at her place for a while up in Mitchell Heights Road, and she just sent me a video of Daisy, and she's like, "This is a little beyond my realm of comfort, and I don't know what to do. I brought this dog into the shelter, and it was a video of Daisy, and her kids were walking around the kennel where Daisy had been being kept for the first couple of days, and she was like lunging and snapping and snarling at the kids. And I thought, for me, I'm really most comfortable actually with pits more than a lot of other breeds.
Yeah, I was gonna say most people would not say that.
No, and I've spent so much time around them that it scared me a little bit to see a pit be aggressive like that to kids and humans because they're genetically aggressive to dogs. That's something they were bred for a really long time. And I tell people that, when you get a pit, you do have to realize that's in their genetics.
Bred to fight other dogs.
Yeah, and that was purposely bred into them many years ago. Not necessarily anymore, but it's probably an underground thing that still exists in a lot of places. But, that's like the whole genetic code in certain breeds. It's in there. These little guys, which somebody's passed out cold now. We don't hear her snoring, luckily.
She's really calm. She was doing really well.
She's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, she's like, okay, we're going to be here for a minute, I guess.
We're going to be here
I'll conk out
I'll
for
chill.
a sec.
But Boston's, they tried back in like the early 1890s. They say that the Boston Terrier is the first AKC noticed breed.
What is AKC?
AKC is the American Kennel Club. And so that's like if you want an AKC purebred dog, that's the American Kennel Club's probably the most recognized like American pedigree association. So
just like a certification of, okay, this dog is like.
Well, and like if you looked at Rose's pedigree, her breeder, they'll show you the pedigree of like the sire, the grandsire and granddam. That's like the grandpa and grandpa and all the way down to that puppy. So they can show you, how that dog's been bred, who they've been bred to, and for how long. But Boston's, they initially were bred to be like little miniature fighting dogs. They have a bit of pit in their history.
To fight each other?
Yeah. But people like way back in the day, before the 1900s, they thought these are some really nice little dogs. And so they very quickly became a companion dog versus a fighting dog. But pit bulls, they're an awesome breed. They're not for everybody. When I first moved here, the pit bulls were a really popular breed, and they were really popular for a long time. You get the fad breeds, and right now it seems to be like the Belgian Malinois is like the most popular breed. Which
another dog that requires a lot of work,
a lot
more so than even the German Shepherd, right?
Oh yeah, they're a whole different, I think, mindset than German Shepherds. And when people compare them, I think, and I don't have a lot of I shouldn't say a lot, but I have much less experience working with Malinois than I do pit bulls.
Were they bred for war? Or they're just commonly utilized there?
They're used for working, and they're most, I think, sound-minded when they're with somebody who's really firm and really focused and driven and can work with the dog. They're harder to I guess intimidate and keep under control as a house dog than pits. Pits are a little lazy. They don't like getting cold. They have short hair. They're not really working dogs. They can get a temper sometimes, and they're pushy, and they play rough, and they can be dog aggressive. But in general, they should be very gentle with humans. They were, the British version of pit bulls is called the Staffordshire Terrier. There's also the Staffordshire Bull Terrier. So a lot of these bloodlines have kind of like they've separated from each other in the early 1930s. Pit bulls were no longer, I shouldn't say no longer, but the American Staffordshire Terrier was recognized as a purebred dog with AKC, but not the American Pit Bull. So the Pit Bulls are like, you can't prove their bloodlines. So Daisy, I say a 10th of Labrador because she probably has a couple of different breeds in her, but you can see by looking at her, she's predominantly Pit Bull. Mm-hmm. So when I went to meet her, it was like, well, we're hiring you because she was brought up here from San Jose. A bunch of different rescue people networked to try to get Daisy out of this kill shelter in San Jose. And family members of the guy who had her before networked basically and tried to push before she was going to be put down. And she has a really interesting story that after I ended up seeing her, I went out weekly several times to work with her and just feeling like I was treading water. We were just covering basics, but she wasn't improving. And after 4 months at Janna's, it's like this dog isn't improving a lot. And I remember it was 4th of July. And my excuse to my husband was, well, Jenna's going to be out of town and Daisy doesn't have a top on her kennel. And so what if there's fireworks in the neighborhood? And so I'm bringing her home for safety. And then I thought, well, what about networking like socially on how to like do a dog boot camp, like reboot and like have her in my home for 2 weeks to find her new home. So at the time we had a Mustang, a Ford Mustang. And Jason was on duty at the fire department. He works at Humboldt Bay Fire.
Okay.
So I pulled up to the headquarters and like called him and was like, hey, I'm downstairs.
I've got the dog.
And he came down. He was like, oh, and she was in the passenger seat. And that's like our no dog car too. And I was like, hey. And he was just like, oh, this is bad shit. So yeah, I mean, he came home the next day and Daisy was in the house with everybody else. And she created a lot of chaos at the time. We had 7 dogs and 5 cats and 2 horses and all that good stuff. But in the long run, 7 years later, Daisy's kind of the head honcho and the older granny at our house. But I spent a lot of time working with her aggression towards people and dogs. And again, it was like treading water in a lot of ways because it was such a slow, agonizing process to try to figure out how much positive, how much negative, what resources do I use? Treats would get you so far, praise would get you so far, but then you'd have to get after her and be really stern and firm at times. How much exercise does this dog need? And I started digging into her past. And a family member of the previous owner started reaching out and commenting on my Facebook posts about Daisy. And it was the stepmom of the kid, and his name was Jason too. My husband's name is Jason. That he got Daisy at 5 months of age, and he was on the streets at the time, and he was a heroin user. And long story short, Daisy was born on the streets and lived on the streets and was passed around several different times until Jason took her. And she was his companion and his protector and guardian, and was taught to pull a shopping cart full of their stuff while he rode on his BMX bike behind it and was encouraged to pull. And he was encouraged her to guard their things while he was, doing his thing. And she was an insecure puppy, having to be very protective. So once I found out more and more about her past, it didn't change like the dynamic, but it made me feel a lot more compassionate about like why things were so hard.
Because you understood that side of it.
I think that's something a lot of people that get rescue dogs wish they had insight on, like, what did this dog go through?
Yeah, how did it end up at this point?
Yeah, so it gave me some acceptance and some of her behaviors to just slow down and calm down about her progression. And I thought, okay, well, we're not making much headway in this regard, so one thing that Daisy likes to do is move constantly. I called her the migratory animal because in our house, she just couldn't stop moving ever or relax. The other dogs were like, oh,
yeah, what is happening?
What is wrong with this dog? And so I created this hiking class. And it like blew up. People loved it. And it was really fun because Daisy didn't like other dogs and didn't really care for other people. She was like, I want one person and that's really all I need. And that was me. She turned that into me. And so part of like our beginning stages together in the first few years were going around every week and hiking different trails with people, and it got more and more like interesting and fun. And all the places we go, we use like Hiking Humboldt books. I don't remember the author's name, but he has a couple of them, and they're fantastic books. And I would take people on these hikes from like King Salmon, and we would follow the railroad tracks along the bay north to the Hickshari Trail and back, like 7-8 miles.
Oh, whoa. And just bring your dog.
Yeah,
and we're gonna go.
Bring your dog. They're gonna learn cues and things along the way. And we're going to hike, and we're going to work their little butts off. And that was...
so you're training the dogs as you're hiking?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just like a bonding experience.
It's like,
we're going to go hike.
I'm telling you what to do while you're hiking behind me.
Yeah.
And my dog's the biggest jerk in the group. So she's, you want your dog to be a good example. That's like what Rose and Levi are really great at, because they're very calm. But I raised them from puppies and was able to mold them and like, utilize that puppyhood to make them calm dogs. But I didn't have that with Daisy. So she was, I think, a really great thing for a lot of people to see, like, okay, my dog doesn't have to be perfect. My dog might not be suited for every situation. But I could go hiking with my dog. And if Janna can do it with Daisy, then maybe I can do
There's
it
still hope.
with her. Yeah. And a lot of dogs, I think, are just lacking exercise. So that was a big part of it.
A lot of people are lacking exercise.
Yes, yeah. COVID definitely created a lot of those problems for me. I was like the COVID 20 pounds.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're just locked up in your house. What are you going to do? You might as well start eating.
Yeah. I got really, really frustrated when COVID hit, because it was like I was in the middle of a bunch of training classes. I'm really blessed to have the Fortuna Veterans Building. Took a bit of convincing, but I've moved around a few places. It's hard to convince people to rent their building to dog people.
Well, I would imagine the liability of it is just nobody wants to take, especially with pit bulls. When pit bulls get into the mix, it starts getting a little
and
pricey.
I have really good liability insurance, like $1 million liability insurance.
Oh, wow. So you're covered.
I'm covered. I'm ready. Yeah. But they're like, they see, and the guys even at the Veterans Building were like,
I guess.
Like dog poop and fur. They're like, and so that, I think that's a lot of people, like, they think dirty or irresponsible, but it's been fantastic over the last few years being able to like show them that I'm trying to teach people how to be responsible with their dogs. So we leave no trace behind when we're done with classes. And when I started there, it's like 2 or 3 days a week doing classes and different age groups from 9-10 weeks old up to like adult dogs that don't have any clue of what they're doing. So
when you first got Daisy, were you kind of hesitant towards how she'd react to Jason, especially after learning about how she was protective of the other Jason?
Yeah.
I would imagine if she latches onto you and then views everybody else as, okay,
oh, definitely,
this is my person, I need to protect them from everybody else.
Yeah, and he came home off duty, and we still talk about it and laugh about it, because he basically just walked in the door, and she like went to jump up on him, and he just, we called it the jujitsu. He just jujitsu'd her like off her feet and on the floor, and she kind of went like...
Swept her.
And that was like it. Like, it wasn't like a mean, like, I'm trying to beat you or hurt you, but he just like instinctively was like, no. And she, from then on, I mean, she adores him. She absolutely loves him. But I think it was necessary for her, and just his instinctive move. He's been around dogs for a really long time too. So it's like, and we also spent many years rescuing adult pit bulls. I'd just bring them home and they'd have all these random issues. So he was just like, nope.
Yeah.
Wasn't like he's trying to do the alpha rollover and all that crap that a lot of people like, promote. And I'm not really a fan of that. Like holding a dog down on their back.
Is that like the dominating aspect of you have to be the alpha in the house?
There's so many other ways to be dominant, and I don't even like using that word because you kind of have to be cautious. Actually, we watched this podcast recently by Mike Tyson. Have you ever watched his podcast?
Yeah, Hotboxing with Mike Tyson?
Hotboxing, yeah. And it's one with Cesar Millan. And I was a huge fan of Cesar Millan. And he got a lot of backlash from dog trainers. And like as I came up and started doing more training more full time, I was kind of like on the fence. And I thought, oh yeah, his shows are really entertaining, and he has a lot of really good things to say, but there are some aspects to it that might have given people the wrong impression, and people kind of glom onto certain things and run with it. And he was saying in this podcast, hopefully you'll watch it now because it's really cool.
I'll have to check it out.
They actually went to his ranch in Mexico and like had the podcast there at Cesar Millan's like dog facility.
He's not the guy that has that giant pit bull, is he?
I'm not
They call it
sure.
like Tank. Have you seen that dog? Oh
No,
my, well,
I'm not
continue
sure.
telling your story.
Yeah,
I'm going to
yeah,
pull this up
yeah.
because this dog is insane.
I'm not sure. Maybe he does, but he had the dog, this original dog that was like his kind of dog, like Roses for me, you know,
Okay.
or Daisy was Daddy. And it was like, I can't remember the rapper name's dog, but it was like, it was Jada Pinkett Smith and her husband at the time, I think, like their dog.
Will Smith?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I think it was their dog. Maybe it wasn't a rapper's dog. I think you know, I'm so bad at this kind of stuff. My husband's the information guy, and I'm always like, "What's that guy and the
Yeah, I'm
thing
not
and
good
the
with
thing?"
names.
And he's like, "Oh, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Thank you."
Yeah, thanks.
If he was here, he would know. But no, I mean, it was really funny because Caesar said, "Yeah, when I moved to America, I didn't know any English, and I had to like work my way up from scratch." And he goes, "One of the things that I used as a term at the time was dominance and submission." And he said, my interpretation of it was like, now I use the word leader and being like leadership role for your dog. But people misconstrue like what he would say, the word dominant being that you had to be dominant over your dog all the time. And he said, yeah, if I had a better understanding of English at the time, I would have used different terminology, but I didn't.
Oh, so it was a language
So that was really
thing.
interesting, like to hear him say that after being in America for so long and being through all those TV shows and all that stuff. It's like you always get a little different interpretation, like over time when you read about or hear somebody say something. It's like, oh,
That's actually not what they meant. They meant this thing.
yeah.
Which, of course, us in the States, we would go domineering when you hear dominant.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think it's good. Dogs should know that you're in charge. Oh boy.
This is the size of that dog.
Yeah,
It's just this.
he's outrageous.
Just this built.
That's like
I think they
mega
call him
pit.
Tank. Yeah.
Yeah, pit bulls are like supposed to be 40 to 60 pounds.
That's got to be at least 140.
Yeah, like look at his head compared to the guy's
Just
head.
huge.
Yeah, that's outrageous.
And this guy, I think he trains dogs. I don't know actually what guy does it, but he trains dogs, and this is like his flagship dog.
Yeah.
I think that's the guy.
Oh my god. Well,
Hulk, the world's biggest pit bull.
You'd certainly get a lot of attention walking around with that guy.
Yeah, I mean nobody's gonna mess with you. You're
no.
safe, but
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if I would want to purposely breed a dog that big. Yeah, but yeah, they're supposed to be 40 to 60 pounds. So,
yeah, that dog's maxing out.
Yeah, he's definitely maxing out. I don't remember what topic we're on, but we were talking about Daisy and dogs in general. Oh, but
on the domineering
dominance
Mike Tyson
thing. Yeah, it was an interesting podcast that we watched, and I think with dogs, I have this basic like philosophy that I came up with over the years, and I call it FFA. And I thought it was kind of funny because I was in FFA as a kid with a little jacket, and like raising pigs and horses and stuff like that. But it stands for food, freedom, and affection. And I really harp on clients, like from puppy classes to private lessons. There's generally a area of improvement somewhere that you can make in those three departments. And those are the top 3 resources in a dog's life, you know, aside from things like, you know, your ball dog and dogs that like other things. But if you break it down to food, I always tell people never free feed your dog. If they just
free feed,
just like walk into the bowl whenever they want to and eating food.
Oh, you're not supposed to do that.
No, I think that's really a horrible thing to do. Your dog can fend for itself when it can go for their food on their own. So if you think about that, you know, what I like is my dogs wake up every morning and they're like, hey, they're looking at me for breakfast. And then during the day, especially if you have a problem dog, you know, a lot of people will argue, well, my dog doesn't eat very well, so I need to keep the food down because he's too thin. And I think, well, are you maybe being a little bit too nervous and neurotic over your dog's eating? But what if your dog didn't have access to food for 6 or 8 hours? Maybe they'll get on more of a scheduled routine of eating. And so the other thing too, like with puppies and problem dogs, like Daisy got most of her meals out of Kongs, like those big like toys that you can stuff food in.
Oh, and then they like chew on it and the food comes out?
Yeah, so she's in her crate for periods of time when I was at work working at the vet clinic at the time. Instead of feeding her out of a bowl and her eating in 30 seconds and then having to spend 3 or 4 hours in a crate, why not feed her at least half of her meal in the crate so that when she's sitting there, she's got something to do with her brain. So food can be turned into like a mental game or a workout for your dog. And hand feeding, feeding your dog on walks, using food to your advantage versus a disadvantage. People kind of you get a lot of backlash from some people about like, oh, well, they're just gonna do it for the treat. It's like, he's only sitting because I have a treat in my hand. Like, well, you're gonna feed your dog anyways, so why not have them earn it? It's like the hand that feeds you philosophy. Clearly, you're feeding the dog by hand. The dog needs you, and they have to do this, this, and this to get it. And I think a lot of dogs, they bark, dig, fence fight, destroy the house. They're hyper because they're bored. So why not like deter the boredom by doing more work with their brain with the food, to hunt for food? And most dogs are supposed to hunt and look for food. And so they're just, when the food bowl's left down, that's a huge disadvantage to the owner. And we can get into like feeding your dog real food thing too. That's another topic. I'm big on, like, my dog's got a little bit of bone broth, which I make myself from, chicken that I get from like the local farm, Shake Fork Farm. And I love the whole local support thing. I'm like huge on that because that's really how my business thrives. So I really love supporting other local people. I love the Shake Fork Farm. They're fantastic. So I put their anything that's left over, vegetables or like chicken bones and things from our meals, I put it in the slow cooker and make bone broth. And I like boil them, sweet potatoes. We have chickens. So I found out last year when I started seeing a naturopathic doctor that I was allergic to eggs. And I thought, oh, shit. So no more eggs for me. So I hard boil eggs and scramble eggs for the dogs. Obviously, my husband gets the eggs too. But the having food be more of a ritual and something that they earn
instead of just this constant supply.
Yeah, constant supply, and then also just the boredom of dry kibble. Because kibble, like you hear from, I don't know where this came from, but I think it started coming back when commercial dog food started coming out in, I think, don't quote me on this, but around the 1950s or 60s. So if you think about how long dogs have been domesticated for, say about 15,000 years. But dog food's only been around since about 1950 something or 1960 something. That's a long period of time that dogs have been just getting human food and scraps. So when you hear no human food, don't feed your dog human food, this doesn't make any sense to me at all.
So, yeah, the line of thinking doesn't really check out,
right? It doesn't. We had a lot of dogs pass away over the past several years of cancer-like things. And so for me, trying to minimize like vaccines and preventatives like flea and tick meds and pesticides that they absorb through their paws from the grass and things like that, and maximize nutrition has been big with like our next round of dogs, because they won't live forever, but it's pretty heartbreaking when you lose your dog. People really suffer. And so for me, I'm like, I want my dogs to live as long as possible, because we've had a lot of dogs pass away from cancer.
Have you noticed a change in that? Bringing them on to more human foods?
We'll see.
Okay. I mean, this is the current round right here.
This is the trio that's been getting a lot more. I mean, I've done the whole raw food diet. They call it BARF diet, which sounds ridiculous, but it's biologically appropriate raw foods. I did that like full on with my first pack of dogs for a while, but it gets pretty exhausting. Like you're feeding them raw meat and bones.
And it gets expensive.
It's very expensive.
Kibble's cheap.
Kibble is also like the kibble we feed, which is a good quality kibble by Fromm. It's like 25, 30 pound bag is like almost $80 now.
Oh, damn. Never mind. Not cheap.
So, I mean, you want to look at a higher quality food too if you want to have your dog live longer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, food is a huge, huge tool that people just completely pass by as an object of like, ability to train your dog and have your dog be dependent on you and look at you as like godly because you're feeding them. And also, whenever you're having behavior problems with your dog, like pick up the bowl, put it away, put the food in your pocket for a week, and
not feed him for a whole week.
Like, no, I don't mean that. But like,
okay.
put the food in your pocket or in a treat bag and like
make them earn it.
Yeah, make them earn it and see the difference in like just a day or a week.
People get weird when they hear that. Oh, you have to work for your food or make your animal work for your food.
When your dog's not working in any other way, like you have an Australian Shepherd, but do you have a bunch of sheep out back? Or you have a border collie, but do you have cattle? If you have a calm, reserved, chill dog like Rose that's like passed out right now, it may not be a big concern, but when you have a dog that has behavior problems, I think what can you do to like really maximize food? And that's just like one aspect. Freedom is like a whole nother story. So freedom, wherever I go, and like when I did travel to different areas of Humboldt, you can see distinct differences in like how much or how little freedom is given to dogs and the problems people were having. I think the people that can, not always, but can have the most problems are the people that give their dog too much freedom. So I think a dog, like the healthiest minded dog, spends 50% of their time on a leash walking with you, not taking you for a walk. And also being around other dogs and people on a leash. But then if you can achieve like their ability to be calm and well behaved around people and dogs, being able to train them to a point to be off leash too is fantastic. Daisy isn't meant for that. Like we go to the South Jetty is like one of my favorite places to go, and we just need space and freedom. We take the dogs out there and we don't have to worry about it. I'm not going to take Daisy to the dog park. Like she's not dog park material. The Bostons could go, but sometimes there's those dogs at the dog park that I'm like,
yeah, other people's dogs,
they
right?
shouldn't be here. Like I'm a bit of a control freak when it comes to my dogs and freedom, and it's like it's hard to turn off the dog trainer mindset when I see a dog being a jerk at the dog park, or the person that's like throwing the tennis ball for their giant dog at the dog park, and somebody else's dog comes up to try to play, and they're like, ah! It's like, why are you playing ball with your dog at the dog park? You know. So freedom, I think, should be given out based on when the dog's ready for it. So I do a lot of classes where we work up to like, okay, in puppy class, your dog needs to sit and look at you before we let them off the leash to play. We did this last night in puppy kindergarten. Some of the people were like, my dog's being such a jerk. I can't even get them to look. Look is like make eye contact. Look. That's lure and reward. So if you have a little piece of food in your hand and you say, look, and they look at you and then sit. It's like hand signal to sit. Then you say, okay, and let them off of a leash. Something as simple as that can make the dog really look at you different. Like, man, all right, I have to just calm down for a second. And then you give me freedom. So having some other people really struggling for like 2-3 minutes to get their dog to do that, I say, this is a lesson for you to not just go to the beach and let them off leash and let them run off and think they're going to like run it off. Because they're usually not going to get like better or calmer on their own. They need you to like enforce.
They need that structure.
They do. Yeah. And I think going on a really good leash walk, like even if it's just every other day or 3 times a week, where you're kind of hounding them a little bit to behave and not pull on the leash and to listen and walk at the pace you want to walk at, is really good for discipline. It's good for them, their mentality to not always just get to do what they want. And not just be in the backyard or in the house. So there's like a fine balance, I think, with everything. You know, not too much freedom, not too little. And some people that don't do puppy classes or they wait too long, they just get so overwhelmed and embarrassed at their dog's behavior in public, they just kind of give up.
Which does not help.
No.
That doesn't make a difference.
Because that's when the other problems kick in, like the fence fighting and the,
What is fence fighting?
Fence fighting is like your dog is in their backyard and they can see either the neighbors' dogs or they can see out to the front. People are walking by and they're constantly barking and running the fence and barking and lunging and stuff like that. We had some neighbors that had a ridiculously wild husky for several years.
Back to the huskies.
And he was stuck in the backyard all the time. And so he got to the point where he would like learn to jump up and like hook his paws onto the fence and look over the fence. And they look like little clowns. And 4 or 5 pit bulls on the other side of the fence, I was always like, nope. So we started crating our dogs in the house because of that, because I didn't want them to be in that constant state of like aggression towards this husky that didn't have anything better to do than bug them and look over the fence. And he got to the point where he'd like learn how to push the fence board in. And I'm like, he's going to end up getting his face bit off. Because our dogs were all really well behaved. But when you get a group of dogs like in a frenzy, dogs are dogs.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, they make mistakes too, you know. That's the affection thing is more so like for people like a warning, like don't just give free affection all the time. Like make sure that they If you work through a difficult walk, or you go to a dog class and at the end your dog did a great stay and heal and you're like, "You're so good. I'm so proud of you." They know the difference between just snuggles and kisses and like where they earned it. So my dogs get tons of like free affection. A lot of people think, "Oh, like you don't let your dogs on the furniture or in the bed, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I do." We don't have kids,
Do you
so
buy into that aspect though of people saying you shouldn't let your dog in the bed?
I think I take it case by case. So like, it everything's case by case with me. I look at the breed type a lot of times, or the temperament type. I look at the person and the lifestyle, and I look at what the dog is or isn't doing. So, just as an analogy, like, single woman with an adult Rottweiler gets a new boyfriend, and her dog's sleeping on the bed. And every time the boyfriend comes over, the dog's aggressive to him, and to the point where, like, he feels uncomfortable even coming in the
It could
house.
be a problem.
Yeah, so, well, one of the things I'm going to recommend that you do is start crating your dog at night and not letting him sleep in the bed with you. So every case is different. Like, my husband's gone for 48 hours at a time, so I don't mind having dogs
You're
snuggling
like,
with
yeah,
me in
come up
bed.
on the bed.
Yeah,
It's fine.
but like Daisy, if she's at the foot of the bed and I'm watching TV and I hear her growl at the cat walking down the hallway, because she just has these tics, these things that she just like cannot help herself. She's never attacked one of the cats or anything like that. We're always really careful, but as soon as I hear that, I'm like, get off, go lay down. So, like, Daisy's a little different than the Bostons. They don't do that stuff.
You have to like keep a more watchful eye on her.
She needs to be checked more often. It's just her personality, the way she was raised before we got her.
Are you worried at all about, like, when you leave her home alone, do you leave all the animals out or do you crate them?
I crate the Bostons. She's like allowed to be loose now, age-wise. That wasn't the case before for many years. Now it's like she's 8, and I like her to protect the house. We trust her with our 2 cats. The cats also can get in their own spaces. She doesn't chase them or anything like that. She's really calm and sedentary and relaxed now. So, and in general, no, it's not an issue. But I give the dogs Kongs every time I leave.
To keep them busy.
Our first dog, Spike, we got when we first moved here. He had horrible separation anxiety, and he would take it out on our stuff. So, like, one of the worst things, but kind of the funniest, was like a book on tape that he had like taken out of the house and through the dog door, and it like
Oh no.
it ended up like through the entire backyard and then back in the house. I mean, he would go after things that smelled like us and that were ours, and probably most of the damage he did in the first 5 minutes because he was so stressed out and anxious about being left alone. So, crate training him, giving him something to do, confining him, giving him something to do, and then using like some natural calming aids to help with that was a really like the perfect solution for him. Most of my dogs start out always in a crate, and that's part of the freedom.
They have to earn that.
They have to earn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can leave all 3 dogs out loose together for short periods of time and feel really relaxed about it now. Levi's like 2.5. He's kind of a little stinker. Not in a bad way, but he's a little pusher. Like, he bugs the girls. Where I think they just like go to sleep, where he's like, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Let me sniff you. Let me bug you."
Instigates.
So yeah, if I have the 2 Bostons in their crates and Daisy and they all get their Kongs, it's like a peaceful atmosphere when I leave. And so I feel relaxed leaving. A lot of owners, when they leave their house, they're like anxious too. So I just tell people, if you're not feeling relaxed, your dog's going to pick up on that really, really easily. So figure out a routine that works, that makes you leave relaxed, because your dog will be more relaxed. So human anxiety has like spiked too majorly in the last couple of years. I'm seeing a lot of the aftermath of that now. Like, I've been more busy than ever, and it's the worst part of my job is not having anybody to like answer any phone calls or emails. So that's like the one complaint I get from people is like, "I've tried to email you, I've tried to call you." Like, I don't even have my voicemail set to take messages right now. That's how
swamped you guys are.
Yeah. And so it's like, yeah, I can't have Rose like pick up emails for me.
It'd be helpful if she could.
It would be freaking awesome. And I've had help before and assistance before, and like, but I don't know. There's something something in my instincts say like, don't let it grow beyond like what you enjoy and what you want to do. Like, I think a lot of people, you can like, your business can blow up and it's amazing, but I see all these different people, and like big or small here and there, that you see a lot of people that like almost regret like letting the franchise, or like, having multiple restaurants, or like getting employees so that you can do more dog classes or see more clients or this and that. You kind of like lose control of why you started doing it. Kind of like the one woman show. I do get a lot of stress from not being able to see as many people as I'd like. Like thinking about doing this podcast and stuff, I'm like, maybe this is like a little window of opening, like to maybe start trying to do more online, because I'm very old school. Like I feel like my grandpa, how he would be if they're like, when people would ask me to do Zoom, I was like, oh,
yeah, I'm
not doing that. Yeah, and I still am kind of like that. I'm not very like technologically inclined. And I do like the I don't know, like I said, the tangibility of like being like in front of somebody and having that like personal experience with somebody and or a group of people of dogs, which I think is really special. I don't like the idea of like being so big that you're detached from people.
Yeah, then you're outsourcing the training and
Yeah.
you don't even meet half the people that
Yeah,
are
yeah.
bringing dogs in.
Which I'd rather, for me, it's more about like quality versus quantity. I didn't get into dog training to like be rich, I did it to like enjoy it and feel really good about like being an educator and a teacher was never something I thought I would be, but I'm like, wow, this is stuff really happening. So I think I just get so much more enjoyability out of it by just having it just be like that. COVID made things really difficult, because even just when I was able to get back into the building and train people indoors and get my puppy classes going again, where I needed like indoor space and not dirt so I could sanitize the room and all of that last year, and making everybody wear masks and all of that was difficult. It's hard to communicate and like read people
and get a feel for somebody when half their face is covered.
It's really hard. Yeah, and I found myself not able to like remember people and not really connect with people as easily. And also I think people having a difficult time like being able to speak to their dog and having their dog see their face and what they're expressing. There's like, I'm a very like get in your face kind of like, let me help you with your puppy. And so for me, I was like, I'm supposed to keep my distance. We're all supposed to wear masks. I can't breathe.
It's kind of a lot.
Yeah, and some people, are very stressed out about it. I think I've seen a lot of people that have like a lot of residual like social anxiety from this too. I like it when people tell me that that's like what's going on for them, so I can try to help them and encourage them. I do a lot of my training outdoors. One of the things that Chuck, the doctor that I mentioned, that when COVID hit, he and his wife like welcomed me to use their property out in Ferndale.
Oh, that's cool.
It like kept the business alive. I was like determined not to like take loans and like stop and do unemployment. I just was like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I was like just meeting with small groups of people that were real diehards that were like, I'm not going to stay in my house. Like dog people are pretty resilient in general. Like a lot of people, I really actually, that was one of the silver linings of that whole couple of years, was like being around a lot of like really cool people. And they'd show up and like want to be around other people and be outside, and like is interesting.
Yeah, and especially in your case, the people that are coming to you are like, they're actually invested. This isn't the person who has a dog and is just like, oh, I'll just let them do whatever. Like they've already made the first step of saying, okay, we need to do something with this.
For sure. Yeah, it got difficult in public places. I mean, it even got so bad like in Fortuna at the park, where I generally would train and work with a lot of dogs, and I still do, where I was like getting heckled by the park and rec guy, like about congregating with groups of people and stuff like that in public places.
Oh, he was giving you shit.
Oh yeah, and like it got to the point where like I don't take a lot of crap. Like we've had some other things with Fortuna PD and our neighbor and like stuff. Like if you did a deep dive on me in general, like I don't look for trouble. I don't like to argue or like anything like that with anybody. But when it came to like, well, you need to not do this and you need to maybe pay us and you need to this, that, and the other, it was like,
they were saying, was the park guy saying that? In use of the park, public park.
Yes. And it got to the point where I had to like talk to the city manager and be like, he's getting kind of creepy with it. Like, you know,
what a weird guy.
I don't mind like giving you guys my insurance information and all that. That's no problem. But like, if you're going to let some guy out here in the back of the park, like hang out and drink beer all day, like, let these people do Tai Chi over here and like let this group of ladies sit and do their knitting and like kids playing and all of that. Like, I shouldn't be being heckled for like having 5 or 6 dogs and
Well, it's a
dog people.
public park.
Yeah,
Well,
and
it's not like this is somebody's
yeah,
backyard.
no, and the city manager was super cool about it. Like, he resolved it really cool and peacefully, and I provided them my insurance, and it was great. But then I was just like, it was so refreshing to have them offer me their property, because it was like, oh, it was
We
like,
don't have to deal with this.
yeah, I'm like, we're on private property. And there's not gonna be somebody out there like counting how many people I have. It was really difficult, because I like to have not huge groups, like good sized groups of people. I don't like rules that way. It's like, I keep things very structured and very stringent about what I teach and what everybody should do, and all of that. But like, having to be so stressed about the mask thing and all that, it was really stressful, and I wasn't willing to like just be like, no, I'm gonna just have to close my business down. So it was hard for about a year, but having that private property situation and being outdoors, thank God Humboldt wasn't like in a constant state of like rain at that time, because I think people probably would have really lost their minds.
Yeah.
For some reason it was a fairly dry like year and a half. But yeah, the mask thing was hard. And the social distancing was really, really hard. I remember like the first class where they like lifted the mandate, because the county owns the veterans building. So the veterans were like, you can do whatever you want, but not really. Like, they were really casual about everything, where they're like, the county owns the building, so we really have to do what they say. And so, I mean, like, pretty much everybody, but like maybe 1 or 2 people was like, whoa, like taking the masks off and throwing them away, and like being like super stoked about it. I'm not saying like the masks are a bad thing or they don't work, and I just want people to do what they want to do. I still have people that come to classes and wear masks. That's totally fine with me. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, if you want to. The key thing is if you want to.
If you want to.
The fact that we're forcing people to do these things is
I remember
kind
like
of problematic.
When it first started, and like having to, I remember one time like being in Arcata, and like I went to walk in the store, and I was like just being like totally like, what? And they're like, no, you need to get over there. Like, having to stand in line and with a mask on outside, like 6 feet apart on a little like square, and like wait, I just felt so degraded, and like, this is so horrible for human beings. Like, this just seems really bad, like, to me, like from a standpoint of like so much disconnection from humans to each other. Like, feel like that was really hard on everybody.
I think it fucked a lot of people up.
Big time.
I think a lot of people are still dealing with the added anxiety, the added stress.
Absolutely.
Just the lack of human interaction, lack of being able to see people's faces. I think it messed a lot of people up.
Yeah, it's hard to read people, and it's hard also, like, just, when there's times when I would be walking down the street after the mask lifted, and I remember this sweet little adorable little old lady, and I'm walking by her, and she like shrunk away from me just to get by me on the sidewalk, and it just made me so sad.
That's not a healthy attitude.
No, because I'm like, I don't go around hugging everybody, but I'm like, I'm a hugger, and I want to like get down in there in your dog's face, and having to be like hesitant and like ask people if it's okay to get in their bubble and stuff. It's like, that was the harder part for me for dog training. It was a challenge. I mean, everything teaches you skills if you embrace it and try to work with it. So there was some really positive aspects to it. It was like a challenging mentally, like, to work with humans. Now I'm seeing what the difficulty of it is, like the aftermath of people relying on their dogs for emotional support to the point where their dogs are starting to do weird stuff, like, without bringing up specific cases, obviously, like the client.
Yeah, you don't have to say names.
Patient
but
privilege.
Weird stuff. What
weird
does that
stuff,
entail?
like losing it eventually, and like biting their owner like randomly out of nowhere for no reason.
And you think that's just the stress from the owner?
Yeah, I think that, when I'm like digging and asking all the FFA questions and like trying to figure out like, why the heck is this dog doing this all of a sudden? Or like psychosomatic, like licking or chewing on their foot. Or like, yeah, all of a sudden this dog who's like a breed type or temperament type of dog that would never dream of being aggressive, suddenly turning on their owner, or turning on other members of the family or other dogs or cats or something like that, or killing an animal. I've kind of started seeing these connections to maybe these dogs are being asked too much of on an emotional level. Like, for example, I'm good at like live examples. Like, I have epilepsy. I actually like had my first seizure when I turned 30, just out of nowhere.
Oh, wow.
It was
so late.
Way late. And long story short, it turned out to be, it's a hormonally based like epilepsy that happens. I don't have like it's very well managed in general, but I have like these partial complex like waking seizures when I have hormonal changes throughout the month. And for example, like Rose, I'll have a bad day or two, like once or twice a month, where I'm just, even though I'm on medication for it and I'm like really high active person, and it's taken a long time to get used to the seizure medicine. I don't like it.
Does it mess with you?
Yeah, it changes your mood. It makes you tired. It's just the whole thing in general was like hard to wrap my mind around as an adult, being like, what the fuck is this?
Especially like having lived your life to 30 without
30, yeah.
having that, and then
And even worse, like my husband was more like traumatized by it than me. He's the one that had to witness like my first like tonic-clonic seizure, which I've only had, 4 or 5 in 12 years. So, but the waking seizures, to me, I'm aware of those.
What is the waking? That's where you're awakened?
Yeah, I'm having it. They have like the neurologist would constantly correct me. It's like déjà vu is like the opposite of deja vu. So like it's a 60-second blip. Like if I wasn't on medication when it first started, after I had that one seizure, it was like maybe 2 years went by. So they tried to get me on medication. I was like, nah, it's one seizure. I'm not gonna go down that road yet. Okay, licky pants. You might getting some background noise with your foot licking. She's like, whatever, lady.
I'm just upset. I'm not the focus right now.
Jeez. But yeah, I was like, I would start feeling this kind of like euphoric feeling for a second, like almost like.
Oh, you could feel it come on.
Yeah, like you're almost like you're getting high, like you're like, oh, and then you're like, oh.
Problem.
Yeah, it'd be like 10 seconds of like, oh, this is kind of nice, and then you're like, oh no, this is not nice. And like déjà vu is like when you're in a familiar place, but it feels unfamiliar. It's really strange because I'll be like, I'm in my kitchen and I'll like talk myself through it. Like I'm in my kitchen, but you kind of feel like you're in like a dream or like you're in somewhere totally like unfamiliar to you, even though you're right where you're supposed to be or where you're familiar. So I'd have a lot of experiences like that for a while where I was just like too stubborn to like go back to the doctor. I was like, yeah, it's fine. But then I was like, it's getting kind of weird. I need to like go back. And eventually like 4.5, 5 years went by and I finally got like legitimate EEG readings. I had a great nurse that like ended up meeting me on a Sunday morning because she totally got it. And she's like, just call me.
Oh, like that's cool.
when you're feeling them coming on, I get it. You're not having a positive result on your EEG test because you're only getting these experiences like for a day, a month. So she caught it like, and she said, yeah, it's like a 30-second blip, but it was enough to like diagnose me with epilepsy, basically.
Oh, so it's not like you're not falling to the ground having an actual seizure. It's more...
I'm like standing, and if I'm, I'm pretty tough, so I can just like stand there and be like, it's cool, I'm good. Like, and I just like stay calm and deal with it. And now it's at the point where I rarely have any problems at all because of the medication. But when I wasn't on any, that was kind of the case. And I stopped taking it twice, and I did have some pretty big episodes. And so, long story short about the epilepsy is like everybody's got like stuff going on. And I rely a lot on my dogs when I'm having a bad day. I'm like having a bad time. Rose has been the most like, I think, instinctive about knowing about my condition, and the breeder even told me because she comes from a line of like of dogs that can detect seizures, so she's like, you never know, keep your eyes peeled.
She just bred into her,
and she's like, it might be subtle or it might be obvious, but keep your eyes peeled because it might happen. And now what I basically see with her is she won't leave my side at all. She could be a little bit independent and almost like a daddy's girl in general, like go hang out with him, sit on his lap whenever he's home. She does her own thing, sits in the sun, and, just kind of is like, not totally independent, but she's not constantly following me like little Levi. He's like mama's boy. When she like never leaves my side, she knows. But after a couple of days, it's like I just kind of know because it's in me, I guess, as a dog trainer to be like, I need to give her time off. Like she's getting almost a little too stressed. I guess for me, I spend more time around dogs than I do humans. So I can like see it in their face or in their eyes. Like the last time a few months ago, you just see her being like, and I was like, I need to go to work without you today. I need to go to the barn and see my horse without you. I need to go do this and like
give them some space.
Yeah, and I almost need to be like, you're fine, go lay down. Like you almost feel a little bit mean, but you're not being mean to be like, no, you're fine, go. Or put her in her crate with a Kong, or make them do their own thing and be like, I don't need your support anymore. It's okay. It's like some dogs need you to like tell them to back off because they won't stop.
Yeah, it's almost like she's wound up watching after you, and it's like, okay, your shift's done. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
put in the work.
Exactly. Your
we can take
shift's
5.
done.
Yeah.
You see that with protection dogs when people don't shut their brain off like from being protective. They're like out in the yard all day when they're gone at work, and then in the house and they're sleeping at night. They come to find after some digging, the dog's like pacing in the house during the night, or they're like out in the front room staring out the window or barking at every little thing. It's like, this dog's not sleeping. This dog's not relaxed, like, ever. So even though you think it might be cruel putting your dog in a crate, or like not even just a crate being the solution, but like turning off their brain and redirecting their focus and removing them from that protectiveness or that emotional support or whatever it is that they're getting an overdose of, is like really needs to be done. And at a certain point you need to just be aware of the fact that they're not getting any time off.
Yeah, they're on edge 24/7.
And dogs will turn anything into like work, And so the emotional support thing, I think, has been big with a lot of adult dogs I've been seeing more recently, that I'm like, people are just totally perplexed by why their dog is doing a certain thing. And I find myself being like more of a counselor to humans. And I think a lot of people show up not knowing what to expect, or they think my focus is going to be on the dog. And then I start turning the focus to them, and
they're like, oh, I did not sign up for that.
Yeah, some people are like all on board and like, I get it. And they're like, sign up for more. Other people are like, never hear from them again. And I always try to be gentle but firm. But yeah, I try not to like sugarcoat things. When I see something, I don't always nail it. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there like, I don't care for Janna or whatever. But I really do care a lot about what I do, and I think like working with the dogs and the humans at the same time
is important.
Very important, because I think a lot of what the dogs do is a direct cause of what we do.
And I don't think some people would like that magnifying glass being turned on them, right?
Yeah,
then it goes from the dog being the problem to, oh, it might be actually you triggering your dog.
Absolutely.
And then they're doing this thing.
Yeah, and it's gotten to a point where I've sadly, but not sadly necessarily. It's gotten to a point where I'm so busy and see so many people like raising your rates and like having less time and like screening people and kind of seeing it before it comes about. It's like I really want to work with people that are like
invested.
Yeah, 100%. Like a lot of people are like, do you do board and train? I'm like, no, I don't want or have the time or the employees or the capacity to take your dog in my home. A lot of board and train places, to me, that's like a red flag. Not all of them. There's so many professional, amazing places that'll take your dog and help you in the end when you come back to pick them up to like, train you to train your dog. But a lot of places that do board and train, when you come back to pick up your dog, the dog will revert right back to the way things were with you before or pretty shortly after, because of how you are. So they will mirror what the human does. I get that all the time with people that I'll just take the dog's leash and they immediately are different. And some people are like, what the hell? I'll meet them for like a dog that's aggressive or pulling on the leash, and they're like, dude, I've never seen my dog act like this before. This is weird. And they're
different
like,
energy.
They're almost pissed. They're like, he's not showing you what he's normally like.
He's not messing up. He's not
pissing
doing what he
me
was
off.
supposed to do.
Yeah, I'm like, well, maybe he's showing me a lot, but it's not necessarily them. And they're kind of like, huh? And I'm like, it's hard to like softly tell people like sometimes,
hey, we need to work on your behavior.
Yeah.
And then we'll focus on the dog.
Yeah, and a lot of times that takes like multiple sessions or like an investment in time and interest. My favorite like situations with people are the people that I work with a lot and like ongoing, and it doesn't even have to be that often. Like if a lady I work with, she wouldn't mind me plugging, her dog's name is Corn Chip.
Corn Chip.
Corn Chip.
Nice name.
One of the most like random but awesome names.
Yeah, right?
I see her like once a month or every other month, but we've been working together for like 2 years.
Just once a month is like a refresher for her and the dog? Okay.
She'll just like contact me and be like, can you get me in next month? She's like very reasonable. she'll be like, he's just being an ass again. Like, he needs Janna. Like, and I do. Like, I'm just being lazy, or I'm this or that, or we just need to move forward. We're stuck. And it's amazing the difference that we've seen in 2 years of not even just like needing him to come and stay with me, or, having to drill her or have her come to classes every week, but she puts in the work. Like, she fully takes in what I say and like really takes it to heart and puts it in the work. And I can tell, because when the dog comes back, it's like I can tell when somebody's been putting in the work and when they haven't. And when somebody, even if like 6 months go by and they're like, I'm sorry, I think a lot of people get embarrassed or like they're bummed at themselves for not following through. So that might be why I don't hear back from them. But I'm always like, my door is open. I know I'm busy, but
we can make it work.
yeah, I won't be mad at you.
Yeah.
Like, if you drop the ball and you did not follow through, I'm not going to be mad at you. Like, I'm always here to help you get back on track if you want. So yeah, humans can be tougher than dogs to work with in a lot of ways. It'd be really easy to just like have people drop off their dog and be like, sweet, bye. Because that
it seems like it lacks something, right? I feel like half of dog training is you training your dog.
It's more than half.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I devote probably like 75% of my time to offering the group classes versus the private lessons. Private lessons are, having epilepsy is a bit of a challenge because, my brain is functioning great, but it's like it gets tired. So when I meet someone new and I have to have these tough, like complicated discussions and like navigate all these sensitivities and try to get to know someone and their dog, like I had 5 new clients this week and I'm just like,
it's a lot.
And I had one day this week where I saw back to back like 2 clients that I work with all the time, and I was like, oh, hello, hi you guys, let's go. And I could just get in their face and be like, let's go, do this, and they're like, okay. And they're not offended. I don't have to.
You could just kind of hit the ground running with them.
Yeah, and that's what I say. Let's hit the ground running. And they're like, okay. So yeah, it's like refreshing when you can work with somebody ongoing and like, be able to just hit the ground running where you do. I feel like sometimes people might get disappointed because they feel like there should be more progress or more done. But I like to really focus on a little bit in the first session, like kid gloves sometimes have to be put on because I don't want to offend the person. And my goal is to like have that dog bond with me if we're going to have a relationship. I'll usually get tougher on everybody, human and dog, as time goes on. But I don't want to just like hit the ground running when I meet someone new. I think especially after COVID, we're all a little less resilient. Like, I feel like
a lot less.
Everybody
a lot less
is dealing with other stuff like losses and, sicknesses and all these other things that go on. But it's like we're so much less resilient because we're so like drained and exhausted from everything that the world has thrown at us, and how much separation we've had to have and all these other things that have been going on, So yeah, I mean, it's just been. I think working with the dogs is the easy part in a lot of ways.
That's interesting. I would not have thought that you'd have to walk on eggshells more so around the people. I would not have guessed that.
Yeah, and everybody's a little different. Like, I love it when people are just very open. Like, I can tell usually right away with some people, and other people I'm like,
where are we at? Where are we going?
Yeah, some people I never really fully get it, and I'm just like, okay, they're guarded, and I get that. Like, that's okay. But I think that's part of it too. Some people don't like realize that they're going to be any bit of the focus, and I'm just like, that's not the way I roll.
Problem.
Man. Yeah, I don't roll like that. Like, I'm gonna need you to be invested, and if they're not, then I'd rather honestly move on to somebody. Again, it's not about the money.
It's just about that you have to be invested.
Yeah,
it's like you have to want to be better in some regard, right? It's not just about your dog getting better. It's like we're gonna work through this together as a team.
Yeah, I want them to be like one of the team members, and that's
a good approach to have, right?
Absolutely, because I'm not gonna take your dog home at the end of the day like you are. So and your dog, as soon as I take the leash, can totally respect me and be totally cool with me, but I hand the leash back and they can be like total disaster. It's like I grew up with horses, since I was a little kid. My grandpa was big in horses, and then got my first horse at 12, and I did a lot of horse showing. So I like learned like really sincere like discipline, like going to trainers every week, being told what to do. They didn't put kid gloves on you. They're like, sit back, shoulders back, knock it off, cool it, get your hand down, cut it out, quit whining, get back on. You get bucked off. I don't give a shit.
We're going to go.
Dust off your freaking boots and get your ass back on that horse, and we're not going to quit. And I'm like, okay. So, I mean, even like it was actually my friend's idea at the time, but her parents said no. Did you ever I don't know if that's even a thing, the senior exit project. I think that was a thing that like
No, I think
did
it just
not,
missed my
it
generation.
should have, I feel like it should have been a long-term thing. It just kind of came about when I was like maybe a freshman or in 8th grade. And so my friend's idea, which I totally stole from her, was to adopt a wild Mustang and tame it. And
This
so,
was just her. She just had this idea out of the blue.
yeah, as we were horse chicks.
Oh, okay.
And she's like, dude, a wild Mustang's
We could handle that.
$100. And I was like,
was it really $100?
Yeah. And I don't think it's a whole lot more than that now.
Wow.
And so I was like, let's do it together. And we're like, hell yeah, dude, we're doing it. And yeah, her parents like, no. And luckily my stepdad at the time was like, I'll help you. And my mom's like, oh, this is such a bad idea. But we went to an auction, BLM auction, and picked out Izzy and took him home. He was freaking wild. He's 2. And it took me first you do like a research study on like whatever topic it was. So I researched and like discussed and put this paper out about like, how wild Mustangs came about. Like mostly, no horses actually like were native to America. They were all brought over on ships. Mustangs are all like horses of different breeds and cultures that were brought over in war and got loose and started to roam and range free and crossbred with each other. So Mustangs are like mixed breed dogs, And so, Izzy was like my project for a long time of like learning how to be soft but firm, like having to take my time to tame him and teach him to trust me. And like eventually after like the 6-month period, like throwing my leg over and being like, and being able to present this to my, board of different teachers that were, and I ended up like winning an award for it, which is pretty awesome. But I think that was some of the earlier stages of, I think that I've just now even starting to like connect with, are that youth and like growing up and all that discipline and all the things that I learned through horses totally ties into like being good at what I'm doing now.
I think that's so important.
Just food. Like I would sit there for 2 hours if it took for the first like 3-4 weeks with food on my lap, hay, and just sitting in the pen until he would come over and eat the hay. And if he didn't want to come over and eat the hay, I would pick up the hay and I would leave the pen. And he would go hungry for another hour or 2, 3 hours, and I'd come back in and sit down. And if it was too tough for him, I'd put the hay at my feet instead, or a foot or 2 or 3 out ahead. Sometimes with dogs and horses and humans, you have to back off a little bit. When you see you're like setting the bar too high, it's like,
okay, we'll take a step back.
Yeah.
Please in.
Yeah, like there was a dog last night in class who was new to it, and I was like, okay, see if you can make it 6 feet out and back for stay. And she was like, and the owner was getting frustrated. I said, just say sit, stay, okay, and like leave it at that. Don't move. And she was like, okay. And the puppy picked up on it. By the end of class, she was doing 6 feet, But yeah, it's interesting, like things as you get older and wiser, you start to realize like how your youth definitely like plays into like what you do in your future. And that's been something more recently I've realized, like being a horse person, and just being regimented and disciplined. Like even now with my horse, her name is Bling. Like going out and feeding her and cleaning up her stall and doing all that, brushing her and putting the fly spray on and making sure she's well cared for. I don't ride every day, so I could ride a lot more. But just the discipline of it, I think that's something that's really good, like for someone to have discipline and structure. Yeah.
That's what worries me about my generation, and more so the generation below me. I feel like that is lacking.
Yeah.
I don't feel like the discipline is really there anymore.
The interest, too, seems to maybe not necessarily be there in certain disciplines. Like, you can see now, like, when Jason was younger, there'd be, like I said, like 2,000 plus people trying out to be a firefighter. Nowadays, like, I don't do that shit.
It's too much work.
Yeah. And I mean, also too, the whole generational thing, I was thinking about it before I came here today, is like being like Gen X or whatever. I remember like getting my first pager when I was like 17, and then like learning how to use the internet like when I was 19, 20 years old. I think there's like serious advantage to growing up without the internet. I'm sure there's going to be like some huge positives for the people that have grown up with the internet too, where I'm like an archaic like dinosaur when it comes to that. So for the younger people, probably like, oh my God, you don't know how to like have a Zoom dog training class? Give me a break. But yeah, I mean, I think there's pluses and minuses to both, but I definitely feel I feel good about like growing up without the internet, like, and having so much at your fingertips all the time. I love the internet for certain things, like for cooking. Like, I love to
There's
cook.
a lot of useful stuff
I'll be
on
like,
there.
how do I make, like,
Anything.
chicken parmesan?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Get 500
Sudamono
recipes.
salad. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. Yeah, and like you get like, yeah, exactly 5 different recipes, 10 or a million different things. Social media really helped me out a ton too when I first started the
With like
business.
branding.
Yeah,
It's a
like
very powerful tool.
I'm like kind of an amateur photographer. If I, thought I was good at it with my iPhone. I love taking pictures of animals and nature. So I love taking pictures of my classes, my people and their dogs, like working and training, and especially outdoors. Like, that's one of the reasons why we stayed in Humboldt when my husband got out of the Coast Guard and he got hired by what at the time was Eureka Fire Department. Now it's Humboldt Bay. Like, it's so beautiful here. Even if it rains a lot, which nowadays
it hasn't happened in the past
has
couple
not
of
been as
years.
insane. Like, I remember the first, like, 7, 8, 9 years. I mean, there'd be, like, 2 months, like, in the
different world.
in our, like, half our backyard would be underwater, and it just, like,
or the fog.
wouldn't drain.
I can't remember the last time we had really thick fog, like when I was growing up.
Well, even just the last, like, I feel like I said, you haven't always say, I feel like you don't have any like sense of the seasons. Like, where I grew up as a kid, it was very distinct: winter, spring, summer, fall. Even up to like a week ago, it was like, seriously, with the freaking like doldrums of the freaking, just not necessarily in the fog, just not seeing the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, summer solstice. I had like a class on Tuesday, and I was like, because we were out in Ferndale at my old boss's house, and it was so beautiful, and the sun was shining. And I do not like the heat, so I love that when there's a sunny day in Humboldt and it's like 70. I'm like, okay, I'm hot enough.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. We can stop right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You
I
read
worry
so
about the
good,
discipline
Rose.
thing. Because it's not even discipline in just... It's the aspect of just doing things you don't want to do because you know it's going to benefit you, right?
Yeah.
That aspect of
And having the
we're gonna
self-drive
work.
to do things that are uncomfortable, knowing like,
Nobody wants to be uncomfortable anymore.
I was even like a little excited coming here today because I was like, oh my God, I'm a little nervous. And Jason's like, ha ha ha. That
feels good.
He's like, that's good for you. I'm like, I know. It's like kind of fun, like to be a little nervous and uncomfortable. I'm like, I've never done a podcast. It's like when you emailed me, I was like, this is really interesting. It's funny how things are like kind of universal because we'd been watching podcasts, which one of my younger friends, she's like really big into podcasts. I'm like, I don't get it. I'm more like a music person, like listen to music, But then we started like watching like Joe Rogan, like, Mike Tyson, some of these other ones. And then we went to this thing that was a little out of our like realm of comfort too. It was like a benefit dinner, and it was all for like the Sunrise Rotary for Fortuna.
Okay.
And it was just, and I think there was like the one tie-in I could see was like someone that worked for Tri-County's bank, maybe like you'd interviewed or knew. I wasn't even sure like but it was literally like the next day I was like, oh, we'll go to this dinner. It'll be like a little uncomfortable, but it's for a good cause. And, you're around people you don't necessarily like have a lot in common with, but it was super fun. And then it was funny. The next morning I got that email from you, and I was like, it's really interesting how the universe does that. Like when you push yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone,
things just start coming to you.
Cool things start coming to you. So I'm like, maybe what's next,
There's that weird gravitational effect that people talk about, right? Where you just take that one step and then it opens up all these other doors.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even anticipate that happening.
And it's usually an uncomfortable step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're never going to have something fall out of the sky when you're just sitting on your couch watching TV.
No, it's the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, for sure. So yeah, I was pretty excited about that. I was like, well, why the hell
not?
I
was excited when I found you. I was like, oh, this will be awesome. And then obviously I got a ton of stuff, and we've got cool, awesome sake now from it. I mean,
I might be ready for another one, actually.
Yeah. I think that in more ways than one, we are a lot like dogs in the sense that we need that structure. And that's something that people today are really lacking, is they don't have the discipline, and nobody's going to stand over you and say, no, this is what we're doing. You're going to get up, you're going to go for a run. The physical requirement, especially, I think people are way lower than we should be with our physicality.
Yeah.
And just general exercise, just going for a walk at the end of the day, just doing something that like you can take a breath with and say,
You have to
okay,
make yourself.
yeah. And
Yeah.
people don't like to do that.
No, and and it was actually my husband's idea, got a Nordic track last year because I'm just like, this is ridiculous. Like, I feel like a fatso, and I'm like,
COVID was rough. COVID was rough.
I ate and drank my way, like I said, through COVID, like for comfort. I didn't lack in like the motivation, like pushing through hard stuff work wise, but like just being like stressed out, coming home and just like making food and like drinking some beers or having
what else
some
could you
wine.
do? They shut down the gyms. That's what
Yeah.
pissed me off is they closed the gym.
I'm not a
And
big gym person.
Oh, I love the gym.
I
The
don't.
gym is my
When I
spot.
work out, my face gets like as red as a tomato, and it's not pretty. It's always been the case when I get overheated. So I love the Nordic track because I'm like in my home and no one has to see my red face.
Is the Nordic track? That's a treadmill.
We have the elliptical.
Oh, the elliptical. Okay.
It's like the super fancy model. And so since I got into it, I've fell off track. We call it off track, like here and there. But like even just getting up in the morning, making it like my routine now, like this morning, getting up and doing it, like they make it really motivating too. Kind of like my training classes, I think of it as like when I turn on the screen and you're doing like a certain series, they're like, okay, we're going to do this today. And you have like your little coach on the screen. You can play music and they're like explaining to you about like how to deal with your aerobic threshold versus your anaerobic and all these different things. And I'm like, I love this. And today's hiking day, like today was like, what would you, not interval runs. I hate interval runs. Oh, that's like torture where you have to like
go super hard for a few
jog,
minutes
then super hard. I'm just like, I'm going to die or barf. Yeah. Hiking is my thing. And I think my body's conditioned to it because of Daisy. Thank you, Daisy. My body's conditioned to hiking now. I mean, everybody's good at something different. Like I'm not a runner. Hiking, climbing, riding horses a little bit. I'm not a mountain climber by no means, but yeah, today was like it was just like consistent running, like jogging, and I was like, holy crap, I jogged for 30 minutes and I didn't die. And you feel so much better afterwards. It sets the tone for the rest of my day now. So I'm like, as much as I can do that consistently, but I have to make myself. No one's going to tell me to do it.
That's the thing.
Rose isn't going to tell me. They're going to be like, stay in bed.
Yeah, we could just chill out.
Let's eat something crappy for breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do this or that. Yeah, self-discipline is like not easy. Having your own business makes it tough sometimes. Like I was sick a few weeks ago, and I luckily wasn't COVID or anything like that, but just the Humboldt crud. I don't know if you've had the old...
Oh, yeah.
Have you lived here your whole life?
I was born and raised.
Okay, so you know
the Humboldt crud, yeah, it's come.
I've had COVID. I had like I think what would be called the original version of it, and I've had the Humboldt crud, and I feel like the crud's worse because it lasts longer.
It's not great.
Like my voice is even still like just kind of adjusting, and having to make the call and not just call in sick. I was like, I miss working at the vet clinic because I could just call in sick. But having to make the call, but also like back in the day working at the vet clinic, if you're sick and like can't get out of bed, you can get one sick day. But then get your butt back to work. And no one cares if you're in the back coughing up a lung. Now you have to be a lot more like, I don't know, sensitive. Because when you cough or sneeze, you feel like everyone's like...
Oh, they do. It's not even just you feel that way. People legitimately now, everybody, if you cough, especially in a bank, I've noticed, if you go into a bank and you start sneezing...
I don't go in banks anymore. I do the night drop box.
That's not good, yeah.
I avoid certain situations now because it's super
I'm trying to
stressful.
cut the banks out of my life, too. It's
night
like,
drop box.
Yeah. Yeah, I just use cards now.
I don't think I've ever gone to Coast... I haven't gone into Coast Central since before COVID. I'm just like...
I went a couple weeks ago and it's still... You just feel on edge walking in there. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I don't have COVID. It's just allergies.
I know.
Just allergies.
And allergies have been bad this year too. But yeah, it was horrible because I'm like laying there sick and I'm like, there's nobody else to like.
Nobody's gonna go in for you.
Nope. And there's nobody else to do it. So I'm like laying in bed, like looking through my list of people and having to like email them and cancel and like call people and being like, this sucks. I don't want to be my own boss right now. That's really the only time where it sucks really bad, when you have to like make the call yourself over stuff like that. But all in all, I mean, it's pretty awesome being your own boss.
Oh, it's way better than working for somebody.
Yeah.
Way better.
I mean, I learned so much and like really enjoyed my time at the vet clinic for the most part. There's people that would come and go that you're like, oh, I don't like you.
Don't need to see them again.
Yeah, but the period of time like 2010 to 2015 was like I made a ton of friends. Like when Ferndale Vet bought Fortuna Vet, and like they hired a bunch of us, like young vets. Actually, one of my good friends, Chris Flores, I was like, there's probably no relation because he does not come from here. But when I saw your last name, I was like, Flores. Chris and his wife Jen own the vet clinics now, and like when I met him, he was like a new grad, and so a lot of the friends that I made that are like hopefully gonna be lifelong friends was like during that 5-year period of time. But then yeah, it got to a certain point where I was like, it's time for me to like fly away and like do my own thing. I don't know if I want employees though, like ever. I think
You have a very healthy perspective, I think, on how you want your business to be and where you want to go with it. I think you're right. A lot of people get lost in the sense that they just try to scale it
yeah.
so fast that you just lose a lot of the authenticity that got you to where you are.
Yeah, I want to enjoy it. Like I'm not one to want to get rich, and I don't need to. I just want to be comfortable. And I really want to enjoy like what I do. I actually like love my job, and sometimes when I'm really tired and I don't want to go, it's because I've put too much of a workload on myself and set the bar too high. Like, you know, 4 group classes in a week, like 60 people, and then like 10 clients fit privately. I'm like, why? My husband's like, you're in charge, dummy. Like, why did you do this to yourself? And I'm like, I don't know, because I want to help people, not because I'm trying to get rich, you know. But yeah. Oh, she's gonna be snorkeling. Well, that's Rose snorkeling in the background. She says, I'm getting bored of
She
you
heard
guys.
that and she started laughing.
Yeah.
She's like, we're gonna be rich.
Yeah.
We're gonna make some money.
She says, I'm pretty comfortable getting bone broth for breakfast in the morning, so I don't think she has any complaints.
Yeah.
I do like the one-woman show thing, though. Like, I don't want to say I'm hard to work with, but I have pretty high expectations. I've had people volunteer for me, and I've had people we've traded, work for dog training. And, like, sadly, the few times I've done it, it's, like, ended badly. And I could be a grump like before class. I'm like really intense sometimes. It's like a lot to take on when you're dealing with training people and their dogs at the same time. It can be dangerous. Like you lose control of a group of people, and like if one dog's dangerous and aggressive and you're not paying attention. So I'm like really intense, and I want it to be quiet. I'm like, don't want anybody to bug me. And I think too, like we were just talking about the discipline. Like I would, if somebody came my way and was like, I'll volunteer and grovel and do whatever the fuck you say, and I'll keep my mouth shut because I want to learn. That would be me, like with mentors that I had when I was a kid. Was like, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut, and like whatever you say, because I want to learn. The resiliency for some people, I think, is not there. Like too much whining, like. I don't know. I'd rather just do it myself, I guess. I would love to be a mentor. I kind of miss like having mentors and being able to just be told what to do too. Cause I've had a lot of those like mentors over the years where I'm like, I just love to like learn and, absorb somebody's information that's like way better than me at something. I miss that about the horses.
That's a
and
lost
stuff.
art now.
Yeah. And it is like a lot of the mentors I had are gone, like older people that aren't even around anymore. A lot of my horse trainers were like really tough on me when I was a kid, and like, wipe your tears away, man. It's like not gonna get better if you cry about it. Just deal with it. So yeah, I don't know. Like I think having my dogs I'm sensitive enough with them. They can handle it when I'm being grumpy and tough, and I need them to be serious. Like we got here, actually I stopped at Little Japan, and she was being all anxious in the Jeep, like being pushy to get out, and I was like, you need to go lay down and knock it off. Like she could feel like I was a little bit jacked up about something was happening. And she was kind of like, geez, what the hell's wrong with you? So when we got here, she was like, and I was like, stop. Like, you need to sit down. And she sat, and I was like, okay, now you can get out of the car. And she was like, okay, sorry, geez.
She's like, I was just excited. Yeah, like, I don't know what we're doing.
And she's, but they absorb your energy.
Yeah.
So she was like, something weird's going down. And she was
could tell something was up.
Ramping up instead of being like, it's okay. I was like, knock it off, stop. And she's like, all right. But you can't always tell people to do that. Be like,
yeah. Especially when it's their baby, right? When they treat their dog like, this is my baby. It's
and
like, I'm not going to be rude to them.
Yeah, like I'm really sensitive. Like I'm like could be a crybaby. So like if somebody makes a comment on social media that's like negative or whatever, I used to be a little more like, like talk about shock collars or pinch collars. I'd rather do that like face to face with people, because there's always somebody out there online that'll be like, no, fuck that. You're wrong, like blah blah blah. Or I've had like I think I have like one bad Yelp review. I hate Yelp, first of all. Like they're kind of they were the Gestapo of like with the 2010s, I guess you would call it. They would like literally call my business number 3 times a week and be like, "Would you like to pay us to have all of your good reviews like brought back up on your platform?" Because they would post like your 2 bad reviews, and like they would basically hide
all the good ones.
And then they would
That's
expect you
shady.
to pay them. And so, yeah, I mean, I remember I had to get like one bad review here and there, and I was just like heartbroken. So I'm a total wuss like about that kind of stuff because, I'll take criticism if I deserve it, and you always take to heart like what people say. So I understand, and I try to be sensitive to other people. Sometimes, like I've had people like say things or be like, well, I didn't appreciate the way you treated me in that class, or you were so abrupt or this, that, I'm not coming back. And I'm like, one thing you don't understand is though, it's like, you didn't hire me to just sit with you. You came to like a class with 15 other people and dogs, and I'm trying to like keep everybody in line and everything under control. So there's no drama and no dog fights and, no chaos.
And
So
that's the added pressure, right? Is if one dog, like you said, if one dog goes sideways,
yeah,
you don't know what's going to happen
like
with the other 15.
knock on wood, no dog fights. I have not had to use that $1 million liability insurance so far. I'd care not to.
Yeah, we could go the whole time without using that. That'd be
For
best.
sure. Yeah, so I would care to like be a little more intense if I need to, but sometimes it hurts people's feelings, and I never mean to hurt anybody's feelings, but sometimes
Well, yeah, you're not setting out to do that.
No, never. Like that's definitely not my intention ever, is to hurt anybody's feelings, but sometimes it seems like feelings get hurt so much easier nowadays than they ever used to.
Again, I think that's just because people haven't. If you don't, there's somebody said this quote where it's the hardest thing you've had to deal with is the hardest thing you've had to deal with.
Yeah.
And it's like that's subjective to everyone. Like you might have gone through something that was a 10 for you, and just this cataclysmic event in your life, and you feel like, oh, this is why I'm this way now. It's because I went through this really hard thing, and that's a 2 for somebody else.
I
It's
agree.
like you what?
Yeah.
Somebody yelled at you, and now your whole month has been ruined because
Yeah.
some stranger said something that you didn't really like, and now
For me, it's like a cumulative little shit where I end up being like,
it just builds up.
Yeah, I have a great friend. She said this to me not too long ago, right on that same line of field. She was going through something, and I found myself like complaining about some shit that wasn't like looking at her shit. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I complaining to her? And I said that. She goes, everybody stuffs their own stuff. Like your struggle's no better or worse than mine. Like I believe that you're like just as stressed or going through as hard as. And I was like, oh, I love you. You're amazing, Amber.
Shout out to Amber.
Great friend. Yeah, and it totally opened my eyes to like, yeah, I mean, I know that, but to be reminded by somebody else and to have people be like, when everybody's going through different stuff, you can always look at somebody else and be like, they're going through way worse stuff than me, but you can kind of be hard on yourself too at the same time. Be like, you shouldn't be complaining. Like you got it easy. Like you shouldn't be hard on yourself because this person's definitely got it harder. I think, yeah, like you said, like everybody's stuff's subjective, and
you need balance.
Yeah, and I think the whole resiliency thing after COVID, like everybody's just so tired and already like can't even really adjust, and is like wondering what's going to come next from the government and like all this stuff going on. It's like now they're saying babies should get COVID vaccines, but we are not wearing masks. Like what's going to happen? What's next? Like what's going on? There's a war now. And so it's like there's all the stuff that we have to deal with day to day, I think is so much harder for everybody. So like when someone stops coming to dog training class, I'm like, you get really bummed out, but I understand they're just like, I just can't do it today. I can't come, or I can't keep training my puppy because
I've got all this other stuff.
Yeah. Which I'm like, oh, your dog's gonna be such an asshole if you don't keep doing it, but I can't make people come back. I just have to support them. I had a client recently who was like admitted that she was backing out of the class, and I just said, you've got like one opportunity here. He's aging. And I was like, I just really hope maybe you can figure it out and like come. And she admitted, like, this is all via email, that she had like severe social anxiety after COVID. And I was just like, I'm sure it's really hard, and like you can only do what you can do, but like I'll promise you I'll do the best I can to like help you, and like I promise that your dog will be better in the long run if you can like muster
just pull through
up the strength to just show up and do it. Like, whether you wear a mask or not, I don't care. If you want to sit in the corner, if you need me to open a window or a door for you, if you can only come, for half an hour and you have to leave early, like, just try to show up. And she did, and I was so excited. She was like, hi, and I was like, yes. So those are the kind of situations that make me happy, is like when you see people like be resilient, like stick it out, So that's the good stuff. Dogs, I think they can like make or break happiness too. They can like ruin your life and be a total punk, or like you can just absolutely adore and love your dog and really enjoy life with them. That's why I love my dogs. They're all different and they're all good at certain things. Like Daisy's just so not good at some things. I could not bring Daisy in here. She would be like growling at
Just
you.
going at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not being like super bad, but yeah, no, it wouldn't be like putting her in a chair.
Yeah, Rose is just like, I'm
Rose
good.
is snoring.
I've got my blanket. I'm okay.
She's totally
Yeah.
good. Yeah, she's like, I get it. I'm fine. So yeah.
Yeah, it's important just taking those small steps, because if you can take one, you can take another. It's when you start stepping backwards that, okay, we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah.
Because then you train your brain, almost like you're training your dog. You train your brain, and if you train it to, okay, I feel uncomfortable, so we're not gonna do that. That's gonna be your perspective.
Definitely.
And then every wall you hit, we're gonna take a step back.
And this step, like, it's way harder and harder to deal with. Yeah, I grew up like wanting to take those steps. Even like my mom was really supportive of me. Like my dad died right before I was born and stuff. And I had, two different like great excellent stepfathers like over the period of time until now, like, and that were wonderful. But like my mom's always been so loving and kind. I have two wonderful older brothers, but there's always like there was always some like inner like strength, like pushing and making me do like the awkward shit to like be better. And I like that. Like, I don't know where that came from, but I think it's just doing it and then knowing that it helps and then keep doing it. Like, yeah, the hard stuff, like,
makes a difference.
Yeah, it'd be easy to be like, nah, I don't want to do podcasts. Nah, like that.
It's a little out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, this sounds awesome. Like, I'm so tired and bored. Like, not that I'm bored, and don't get it wrong, clients. I love all of you, but doing new things is fun. And COVID really shut that down for everybody. I'm like not getting to do anything new,
Not getting to branch out of your comfort zone.
And when you work a lot, you just work, and you're like, holy crap, time is just flying by.
And running a business, you can just get lost in that, where it's every day you're hitting that grind.
Yeah.
You're trying to, okay, we got to do this. We've got this tomorrow. We've got this the next day.
Yeah, it just like takes over your life if you let it. So I have to like have a scheduler in front of me not my phone, because I'll look at my day on the phone and be like, oh yeah, I can add one more thing, and then I'm miserable. So I like do the monthly thing with a pencil, the old school way, and I like write in shit, and I'll be like off. Will be like a day off with like 3 lines underneath it and an exclamation point, so that I literally have to erase that to like give myself a day off or not. And that like some of that stuff, the mental stuff, will like work or not work for you. That has really helped.
Yeah, because then you go to a race and you're like, oh, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do this. And even that just small barrier of not wanting to push through that
erasing
is
it versus like clink, like adding.
Yeah, if you delete it on your phone, it's like
no, having to erase it with an eraser and a pencil.
I had to start writing into a planner. I got one of those weekly planners because I would do the same thing. It was just reschedule or move things around, and it's like, no, okay, we're gonna start putting this on paper, because then you have that barrier.
It's more tangible. Yeah, like my little scheduler goes with me everywhere. It's like the whole monthly thing, and sometimes I look at it, I'm just like, I can't not have like 2 days off in a row or 3. You start to learn your like limits and be like, if I don't respect those limits, something's gonna
we're gonna have a problem.
My brain will like check me, like with the epilepsy. If I'm good, like it's all good. But if I overdo it, my brain will check me. So I've learned.
You feel like that stress aspect plays into it?
Yeah, it'll start. Oh yeah, definitely. Like, and my neurologist even said to me not too long ago, which stuck with me. He's like, from what you're saying, it sounds like you're taking in too much data. Because he's like, when you're having like your more issues, like your brain is like way overloaded, and you have way too much data in your head, like being awake at night thinking about, having like all these dogs and people and like scheduling. It's like, I call it a superhighway of information, like not able to just chill out and relax.
You just can't shut it off.
Yeah, because there's just too much data, too many people, too many dogs, too much work, too much other responsibilities. Like, A day off for me is just like waking up and working out, drinking coffee, feeding all the animals. We have fish and the chickens and the cats and the dogs, and then seeing the horse. And like, it's already a lot of friggin' responsibility, you know? And then keeping up a relationship that you spend time together. We're going to be celebrating 21 years in a few weeks. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, that's a big thing too, right? A lot of people sleep on their relationships.
Yeah, and on and off. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I've put work first before everything else, and then everything else does suffer. And you like suffer the consequences, like horse gets sick, or you miss something with one of your pets, or your husband's grumpy. It's like, oh, I'm neglecting all these other areas that should be more important than work. Sometimes when you put work first, that's the business ownership aspect of things, I think, too. It's like, it's your baby. You don't want to fail at your work when it's you, and like, you can't be like, it's his fault or her fault. It's all you. You're like, okay, but yeah, what's most important though at the end of the day, the week, the month, the year, or the end of your life? Like, I worked really hard, or I enjoyed my life. I'm kind of there right now after it's been 6 years now since I like have done this full time. I'm starting to really check myself and see like where the limits are, and like want to keep loving my job, but I don't want to expand it. I don't want to make it way bigger. I just want to keep doing it. And I hope people are patient or understanding. 'Cause that breaks my heart when people are like, I tried to get a hold of you and you weren't there to help me. I'm like, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's the tough part of it, is the bookkeeping, the taxes. They got hit hard this year.
Did you?
Yes. You had a big increase this past year, so that was painful. Very painful. But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, taxes will get you.
Yeah, he was like, I mean, I know this doesn't probably like help right now, but a lot of people lost their businesses. So good for you.
Yeah, that's not helpful advice.
Good for you.
Like, wow,
I'm like, fuck you. But
yeah, okay.
you.
Yeah, that's going to make me happy about paying a lot in taxes, right?
But
Good
he
balance.
was right. It was a silver lining. It was like a lot of people did lose their businesses and are totally like
just out.
Out.
Well, how many people just lost their business because they were shut down because of COVID?
Exactly.
And couldn't work because the government said no,
some of the
closed.
businesses, there's no way that they could keep. It's like you can take your restaurant rogue at the park or on someone's private property and keep running it. Like, I just figured out ways to keep it going, and it wasn't so great in 2020, but last year people started coming out of their shell and they were like, oh, I just need to get out. And like, a lot of people made me really happy because they were like, coming to your classes is like the most exciting and like fun part of my week. That really made me happy. Because they're like, yeah, getting to be around people, be outdoors, and be with my dog and learn from you has been like the best part of my week. And I'm like, nice, doing something right.
Yeah, that feels good.
Yeah.
And then the negative comments, and it's like, oh, it's not so great.
Luckily, I don't get a lot of those these days. I don't put that much out there other than the positive stuff on social media. I don't like arguing. Like, my husband's a big debater. He educates me on all the stuff, and I just like take it in and hear it. He keeps me up to speed on all the shit going on. But I don't like to talk about things that I don't know for sure about. It's like, the whole like, should you get a COVID vaccine or not, and stuff like that. I'm like, I know what's right for me, but I'm not going to tell you what's right for you.
A lot of people do not have that perspective.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of people will be, I mean, me included in some sense, because 90% of what I do here is talk about shit that I don't know anything about. So I can't talk, but it's when people get aggressive with it and they're like, no, you need to do this because of X, Y, or Z. Like, I feel this way and you should feel this way too, or you are not a good person. Yeah. That's when it gets a little dicey.
That's not cool with me. Yeah, like people even got to a point where they were asking me if like I'm gonna check people's COVID vaccines records and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm not doing that shit. Like, all I care about is your dog's vaccine records, not yours. And personally, I never got a COVID vaccine, and it's not for me. And that's something I've kept really quiet about, don't really talk about. And I've like skirted around. If people ask me, like, I'm a very honest person.
But you're not advertising it.
No, and I don't really want to. I don't want to argue with people about it. But if someone asks me and like opens up the discussion, I'll be like, yeah, hell no. No freaking way, man. But that's me. Like, and I even just like barely kind of dabbled in discussing with family members or friends about not getting it, and you could see the little wall go up a little bit, and I was like, oh no,
there's like a look in their eyes.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm sorry, it's cool, I'm not gonna bring it up anymore. But for me personally, I don't know, it's just an instinct. It was like, no. My draw line was like, if I'm like holding, not to be dramatic, but like if I'm holding the hands of my loved ones as they're like dying of this, and like this is directly affecting like my inner circle in life, like, and it's becomes like legit like intense and insane for sure. But coming from a background of like giving inoculations, vaccines to animals, and like knowing about vaccines in and out, having vaccines like a tetanus vaccine years ago that like left my arm like hot and painful and swollen and red for like 3-4 months, like just being super sensitive. I'm allergic to like 95% of antibiotics, and just not trusting something that just came out. Like, or got into a discussion with somebody in the vet field that was like, what's wrong with you? You should know better. Like,
I
I'm
hate
not gonna
that
throw them under the
when
bus,
they
but
do that
you
though.
coming from what you did, I said, yeah, but like the vaccines that have been, manufactured and researched and done have been around for decades and decades and decades for animals. And I've also seen my animals and other people's animals get them and what the pros and cons are, like a leukemia vaccine for cats. Some cats can get cancerous tumors from them, and then they end up having to have their leg amputated. Whereas, so like I keep my cats indoors so that they don't have exposure to other cats with leukemia, so I don't have to give them leukemia vaccines, And so, yeah, during the whole COVID thing, I wasn't like, I would never use the term like anti-vaxxer or masks or anything like that. I even think now, like, maybe one positive thing about the masks is like, yeah, if you're sick and coughing all over the place, like maybe you should be like covering that shit up, But yeah, I was like, don't ask me about my vaccine status, and I'm not going to ask you about yours. That's totally different, And luckily, I've been in situations where that hasn't been pushed to the limit, but it felt dicey for a while. I was like, whew, if I have to choose not to fly or not to travel here, not to do that, then so be it, I guess. That sucks really bad, but that's going to be like what in my heart I feel is the right thing to do. So, I have family members and close friends that have gotten it and that haven't gotten it, and it's like, yeah, it's all good. Like, don't tell me I should, and I won't tell you that you shouldn't. I again, like I kind of had those little discussions briefly and was like, I feel uncomfortable. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the tension.
Yeah, you don't want to lose friends or like loved ones that in that open line of communication because they're offended or vice versa. Like that's not worth it to me.
An interesting thing that I noticed was a lot of the tension seems to come from the people who were pushing the vaccine.
Oh,
Most of the
definitely.
time, people that were anti it weren't trying to push people to say, "Oh, you shouldn't get it." It was just like, "This was my decision. I didn't get
Yeah.
one." And that's that. Like
Yeah.
I
More
didn't
of
get.
the anger came from the other side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in a weird way because they were pushing it as this thing of, "Oh, you need to do this not necessarily for yourself, but to protect everyone
Yeah,
else."
they were making it like it's offensive for you not to because
It's a moral
you're
issue.
being irresponsible and
You're gonna
rude
kill
and
grandma.
you're gonna like put everybody at risk here. So what the hell is wrong with you? How messed up are you that you wouldn't? And yeah, it's like it's just been a rough time like for everybody. Me and my husband just kind of my husband almost lost his job over it. His close friend did. He got fired. And luckily, there's a thing called a religious exemption that,
Oh, and he used that.
yeah,
And it worked.
he grew up Catholic. We got married Catholic. We're not practicing Catholics now, but I'm actually a minister of the Life Church. And I was a minister, married my close friend Shayla and her husband Ian, and so my husband was able to use that avenue of approach of that. We are members of the Universal Life Church. No, I didn't have to like be a monk or go, live in a church or, have to do this, that, and the other. But I'm a legit minister on the internet. But all in all, like I had to go through the motions of like learning how to do all the things to put on a freaking wedding, which was so shocking. That was probably one of the craziest things. That's like out of your comfort zone. And they sat me down and were like, will you be our minister? And I was like, what the fuck?
And this was before you went through that route?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'd never done that before. And I was just like, let's do this. But that was intense. But my husband being able to find a way to legitimize, like, not taking the vaccine for religious reasons was, like, a huge saving grace. Like, he could have lost his job.
Yeah. Well, they were trying to, and I don't know whatever happened with it, but they were trying to fire Navy SEALs that didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
It's like these people are risking getting shot at, and you're going to get mad that they don't have this shot.
There's a guy that my husband follows who's like a firefighter in New York City, and he talks about, like, there's thousands of them and police officers, and there's a lot of this, I guess, controversy over, like, pilots and why, flights are so difficult to get on, and, like, flights are getting canceled because there's a lot of people that are just getting fired for not getting the vaccine, but they don't want to talk about it. They're just firing them. Like, delayed flights or flights canceled or
it's huge right now.
Yeah, and I don't like the whole, like, debating controversy that I can't prove or know that's real, so I don't like going there. But it's just that ominous feeling in the air of, like,
something's up.
What's going on? Yeah, and the forcing. I get that, and everybody has a story. Like, a lot of people around me have had these stories, and, like, they've seemed like legit stories. I don't think they're making it up that a friend or family member, this person died of it and this and that, but I never had those moments that I went back to of, like, I've never been holding the hand of my loved one dying of COVID, so I felt like it was the right choice for me to do it. I was just like, well, I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together. Luckily, me and my husband are on the same page with it. Just, we're not anti anything. We're just, like, for, like, what feels right to me. What feels like the right thing to do. And that for us was the right thing to do. Rose is on the mic.
To say hi.
Are you bored?
Like, you guys are talking about COVID. I'm ready for this conversation.
Luckily, yeah, one of my family members was like, early on, was like, I heard that dogs are, like, starting to contract COVID, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my mind. But coronavirus has been around for a long time. There's, like, many
there's a lot of variations of it.
It's in the, like, the dog's, like, multi-vaccine. A lot of them have that C in there for coronavirus. It's like, yeah, viruses suck. They're shitty and they're not fun. I think we got it. We didn't test ourselves because this was, like, way back when you'd have to, like, drive in. I was like, I can't drive anywhere. I feel like I'm going to die. So I just stayed home for, like, 3 weeks. We were super sick. But this was, like, in that first year where I think that original version of the virus was, like, hardcore. It's, like, felt like nothing I'd ever experienced before. It was, like, really mentally draining. Like, you'd wake up and be like, okay, I got this, and you're like, nope, I'm down for the rest of the day, and, like, in bed, like, no energy, and, like, it's just really weird, crazy symptoms. But I just thought, I don't know, I'm, like, kind of grew up with the whole, like, get your immune system in order, man. Like, get your feet in the dirt and get out there, and, like, if you catch a cold or you catch something bad, like, try to get through it. I've focused a lot on, like, getting healthier and, like, taking better care of myself, eating better, and, like, taking supplements and all of that type of stuff too. Is like, well, this is something I can do.
Yeah.
Like, to try to fight off things that come my way, So.
And that's the biggest thing. And whenever you start to bring up actual statistics, people get a little weird. But if you are healthy and you're active, your chance of getting ill and dying more so is so low.
Yeah.
It just is so low. And people hear that and they're like, yeah, but what about all the people that aren't? And it's like,
I know.
Yeah, that's a problem, but we should be focusing on people exercising and eating right and getting them healthy. And if they want to get the vaccine. Like, nobody's arguing that. But
that's
get healthy.
The hard road, though, it's just like the hard road with dog training is, like, showing up to classes every week and training your own dog. That's the hard road. The easy road would be, like, drop your dog off at my facility and come back and pick it up or, give up or whatever. Yeah, the hard road's not the easy road. It's like, maybe I'll get this, vaccine and it'll solve all my problems. And like I said, I just really hate even talking about that topic at all in general, but it's one I've, like, skirted around for a long time, and I hate keeping quiet about it, but I feel like to keep my business alive and, like, to keep it safe, I had to just be really cautious about what I said to, like, 95 or more % of people.
Yeah. That's what scares me today is that people cannot be honest about how they truly feel in either way.
Freedom of speech has been
just gone.
Ripped away from us.
Not even people just gave it up. They're like, yes, here, take this from us. We don't need this anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. So yeah, stuff like this, like your podcast and things like that are fantastic. I like the fact too that it's like the art of like sitting down and actually having a conversation. Like if somebody wants to watch it, then that's friggin' awesome because they're actually going to take the time to sit down and watch it. Like even if it's just 5 minutes, that's more than just like scrolling through your phone and like looking at someone's photo and like clicking that you love it and all this stuff, you know. I love taking photos and like I love the quickness of like just getting a glimpse of someone's life or what's going on, and I love that with the dog training because I don't expect people to like, you know, unfortunately, like if I wrote a book, like how many people are going to buy my book and like read my dog training book? Now you got to adjust with the times. You know, people sometimes don't have the ability to sit down and like sit through and read some. I'm not a book reader. That's more because I have such a crappy neck. My neck is a mess from car accidents and horse accidents. Car accidents were not my fault, by the way. I was been rear-ended, but the horse accidents were probably my fault.
Is that from the Mustang or just previous?
One was, yeah, that was like.
I'd imagine you get knocked off quite a few times trying to break a Mustang.
When I was a kid, is like you just like.
Well, yeah, that's true. You fall off.
I probably fell off like over 100 times easily, like since I was a kid. But yeah, one time I was like, I decided to like ride my first horse backwards and like have the local kind of dumbass older like barn guy like lead her back to her stall while I was on her backwards, and he decided to like have her trot off, and I lost my balance and like flung back and grabbed her by the flanks, and she bucked and I fell off the back and she kicked me in the head. I'm like,
oh shit!
I like have a scar for life from that. She kicked me in the head, and and it's like I have left temporal lobe epilepsy, so that's kind of like oopsies. And then I got a neck MRI like 6 months ago after this car accident a few years ago that I was in, just to see what's going on with my neck because it's been so bad, and it's like, narrowed space, degenerative disc disease, bone spurs. See, reading a book is like not my forte because of that my husband will like go to work and he'll take like 2-3 books to work with him, and he'll read them like that, and I'm just like envious of that. It's just not my thing though. I'm a bit ADD too as well. Like, not to use that term lightly, but I'm more of a doer. Like, like moving around.
It's hard to just sit there and focus on one thing.
Definitely, I'm a mover. Yeah, for sure.
That's pretty intense. Getting kicked in the head with a horse.
Yeah.
Is usually a story a lot of people don't walk away from.
Yeah, my mom wasn't very happy about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Mustang incident was more of a, he just didn't know his strength. I was riding him and starting to like ride him out in like a more open space, and a field of like young horses went running by, and he just kind of got caught up in the moment and the excitement. And then when they feel someone on their back and they're not that well trained, he just freaking, I mean, most tame horses that would like try to buck me, I'm like, please. It's like
you feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah, because you got your moves and you figure it out and you like grab the rein and you pull him around and you get it under control. But he was like, nope, you're gone. And I just like head first into the ground. It's like very humbling. I had this dog last week. It's like outweighs me. He's big cane corso. And he's dealing with like some weird insecure like aggression leash issues, and we had such a great session, and we're at the end and I was getting ready to hand him back to the owner, and my neighbor walked by. This was at the park, and I was saying a few words to her, and I like took my eye off of him, and he just decided to like lunge at her kid out of nowhere, and he swept me off my feet like a horse. And it was like the first time in a long time that I'd felt humbled, like the horse incidents where I was like, and like my knee is legitimately screwed up right now. Like it's scraped bad, like really bad.
Yikes.
Like ripping the pants, like bleeding, like full on. I was like, holy crap. Like,
oh, he jerked you pretty good.
Like down to the ground, and then like took me for a sleigh ride for about 10 feet too.
Was it a pretty big dog?
Yeah, he's like 150.
Oh, damn.
So yeah, I was just like, okay, it's like when you lower your guard sometimes with dogs, even for like a split second, they will humble you. It's like some dogs are just, more dog than others. That's Daisy. Like Rose, you lower your guard with her, she'll just like give you extra kisses. Daisy will be like, you're weak right now.
Yeah. I'm gonna make my move.
I'm gonna be a bitch. Yeah. So a lot like they're not horses in that sense, but they definitely can be dangerous. And this guy, he didn't mean to. Like I gave him a verbal shaming, I call it, and I was like, "You are so bad." And he just looked at me like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. He didn't really mean to, but it's a big freaking dog. Like, I wouldn't want a 150-pound dog personally.
Yeah.
I don't want a
It's
dog.
a lot for most people to control, especially if you're not working it and you're just, I've got this dog.
Yeah, and these people are super responsible. It was just like, I was like, they were apologizing. I was like, it was actually like more my fault than theirs. I should have just said hi to my neighbor and got right back to paying attention to him. I should have known better, you know? So I'm kind of one to like take the blame. Unless it's just straight up the dog's fault. Hey, stop, little fidgets. You're just fine. I know, you've been very good. Yes, oh, thank you for the smelly kisses.
I was running out around, do you know where the Armory is over by Sequoia Park?
Yeah.
I was running around the Armory and it was probably like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I was heading up towards Murphy's and there were these two people walking these dogs. And I bet the dogs were probably 120 pounds. I don't know what kind of dogs they were because it was dark, but they were decent sized dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And normally whenever I'm running by, somebody else say hey or like acknowledge them, especially if they have dogs so that they can kind of see me coming.
Yeah,
and
which is smart.
Yeah, they were on one side of the street, and so I moved into the middle of the road and was just gonna run by because I got kind of a weird feeling from them. And I'm probably parallel with them, about to pass them in the middle of the street. They're on the sidewalk, and all of a sudden I hear this lady start screaming, and I had time to turn and brace, and her dog was on me.
Oh.
And I don't know if me stopping scared the dog, but the dog just slammed into me. Didn't bite me, didn't do anything, just slammed into me.
Ooh.
And the lady's freaking out, screaming.
Making it a million times worse.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I just froze. I was like, I'm not moving until you get a hold of your...
Smart guy.
Until you get a hold of your dog. And she grabs him, and she's like, oh my God, talking to the dog. What?
Yeah.
She's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yup. And I just took off. I was like, I'm not sticking around for this.
Yeah.
But that's the cost of people. Luckily, I didn't get bit. Nothing happened. But like when people don't train their dog, you've got a meat missile. You've got this animal.
Meat missile. I love that.
You don't know what's going to happen. And
yeah,
you can't control it. And you're just out. There are these two kids that walk where I live. And they're probably 6, 7 years old. And they've got this giant pit bull.
Oh gosh.
And they're just walking. And every time I see that
taken
dog,
for a walk.
every time I see that dog, I'm like, if that dog decided he's going to go, those kids are screwed.
He's just going to go.
Yeah. They're not going to stop him. They're like 50 pounds. The dog's probably 80, 90 pounds.
Yeah, I know.
Goodbye.
It's like when a dog outweighs you, like,
what are you going to do? And I'm sure, I don't know if the dog is trained or if the parents are like, just go walk the dog.
Yeah,
but
probably.
those kids aren't stopping that dog.
Yeah, no.
And God forbid somebody walks by with another dog and something happens, because what?
Yeah, I see that sometimes.
It's game over.
And I'm just like, oh, I got to look away.
Yeah.
You know, driving down the street and seeing that, like, and that's one of my dog trainer pet peeves is like when people are just being taken for a tow by their dog and their dog's like all jacked up.
That dog's controlling you. You don't have any say in what's going to happen.
And like something goes by and they're already that wound up. Something is going to likely happen. Like I just got caught off guard and humbled big time. I was like, oh man, I need to get my shit straight. Like not talk to my neighbor.
You like know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So for the average person,
yeah, it was the first time a dog's really done that. I got knocked off my feet one time, like for a second in the grass, but it was not as ugly as that. I was like embarrassed. I was like, oh, I look like such an asshole right now.
Yeah,
it's like shit happens.
Shit happens, but that speaks to you need to train your dog
for sure.
Because you basically have a weapon if it's not trained, and you're just hoping that.
Yeah, we used to roll our eyes like when we first started getting pits. Now, like the word pit bull doesn't have the same like impression on people as it did like back when we first moved here to Humboldt and we got our first pit. I remember both of our families being like legitimately like concerned when we're like, we got a pit bull puppy, and they're like, and we're like, you guys need to freaking grow up. Are you serious? Like, come on. But it was a different word back then. I don't know. You've lived here your whole life, so you like know the blue pit bull phase.
It was big.
Everyone had one or 3 or 4 in the back of their truck, But yeah,
just sitting out in front of Costco. Hey, come buy one.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, for sure. Yeah. We actually got one of our pits. We think he was like pit and bull terrier. From some kids that found him in a bush by Winco, and he had like a broken leg and like some sort of weird impalement injury. And like Skippy, he was a special guy, like special. Yeah, I mean, he was not a dog that like most people could handle. That's how we ended up with Daisy, Because after a few months of training her, it was like, this dog's gonna probably go to heaven if I don't take her, because if I can't make
Who else
any
can?
impact like on her once a week at the rate that we're going, and then who's gonna be able to take her home and like, be able to deal with all this stuff that's going on? There's no freaking way, and is there somebody around here that's willing to do that? Probably not. She's a great dog. They hinder you too in a lot of ways. I think some people don't realize that until after a couple of years go by and they're like, man, I can't take this dog to the dog kennel. I can't go to the dog park or the beach, or, have a pet sitter come and stay because the dog is this, that, or the other. And, we take our dogs on vacation with us. We don't go like, we don't fly on a plane. Like, we haven't been to Japan. That's gonna have to come like after Daisy gets a little bit older or something like that, because yeah, I mean, some dogs can really hold you back, like with your life, like with some of their issues. So yeah, it takes a lot. Like when you do get a dog, if you adopt them or you get a dog from a breeder, I think one of the most important things about getting a dog from a breeder and like paying someone is make sure they're a really good breeder. Like, we adore Rose and Levi's breeder. She's amazing. She probably doesn't profit much at all because of all of the money she puts into showing the dogs. So they're titled, having their eyes, their ears, hearing, their hearts, their joints, everything tested to make sure they're certified that they're not passing on hereditary conditions and all the different things. So when people are like, oh, I would never get a purebred dog. I would never buy a dog from a breeder. But then there's the people who are like, I would never get a rescue dog. I was like, I like to kind of blend it all in together, like do both. Like we've had such an advantage to like having both like rescue dogs and like raising puppies. The rescue dogs are essentially, they were puppies that were failed by their previous owner or owners. They didn't put in the work. So that dog ended up in a shelter because that first owner failed them,
That's an interesting way to look at it, right?
So projecting forward, don't support just anybody who bred their dog. It's hard when that puppy's there already. And you're like, yeah, but it's already a living, breathing entity. And if I just give them like $500, like, I'm saving that dog's life. But I don't know. I think though in the long term, like focusing on regulations and things like that over all of us in all these different ways, there should be way more regulations on animal control in terms of breeding dogs and cats. Cats not as much, but purebred cats, like that's a lot less of a situation than dogs. But if you wanted to like actually think about projecting forward and making a difference in how many dogs are dying in shelters all the time because there's nobody there to control them or take them on, would be to look at how people can just breed their dogs, like Levi's not neutered. And you could look at that as a problem, but we got Levi under wraps. Like, he's not going anywhere. He's not going to go make babies with anybody anytime soon. Like, that dog is with us all the time or in our house,
Yeah, he's not going out for a night on the town.
He's not climbing the fence and cruising around. No, it's not happening.
How do you feel about that? Because I've heard arguments where you really shouldn't neuter your dogs because it changes their attitude. It changes their demeanor in a lot of ways.
There's been more studies recently too that a lot of the veterinarians, they're focusing on population control. So that's really important to like promote fixing your dogs if people aren't going to keep their genitals under wraps and make sure they're staying in their yards and they're under control. But at the same time, there's a lot of studies there that have been done that these dogs, especially large breed dogs, like if you look into golden retrievers in specific, hip dysplasia and other issues like that are like actually like growth issues without those hormones, males testosterone too and females hormones, and in place as they grow, they can come up with all kinds of like developmental issues that will pop up as they get older. There's also the argument of like, you don't fix a male dog and eventually they end up with prostate cancer. So it's like it can go either way. I had a vet who I worked with recently. She said, we were talking about Levi, and I was like, it's like I haven't gotten him neutered because of COVID. Because I at the vet I used to work with, I was like, I know they're not going to let me like be there the whole time probably for his neutering appointment. Because again, I'm a control freak. I like want to be there to like hold his little paw, and like not necessarily watch the surgery, but like be there when he wakes up. That's the benefit of working at the clinic for 15 years, is being able to like, have him be like, yes, you can stay, Janna. But then it turned into like, she was like, honestly, like a breed like him, he's growing well. He's lean. He's got great muscle mass. If you neuter him, a lot of these like bully breeds and smaller breed dogs and stuff, they end up with a lot of metabolic issues. And they end up getting like hypothyroidism or, being overweight and having other problems. So I think the argument can go both ways for sure. And I think that you have to also like think behaviorally. Like if Levi got to a point where he was being aggressive, or there's been times where I feel like there's probably, they say a male can smell a female in heat up to 3 miles, 5 miles away, because their sense of smell is that much better than ours.
Whoa.
There's been some times recently where he's like in like legit turmoil. And I'm like, I don't want to torture you, buddy. Like, we'll neuter you if like you look like you're tormented, because your sense of smell is smelling the ladies. And he's like so distraught. That's not a problem, but it goes away after a couple of days usually. But yeah, there has been a couple times recently where like
it gets pretty intense.
He's turned into a demon all of a sudden. And he's like 2.5. So we're like, oh God, this is bad. Like, and it's probably because, and the breeder, that's how awesome she is. I'll like message her and be like, Levi's doing this. She's like, oh, it's probably because of this. I'm like, damn. And she'll come. She's like, we call her the guru of dogs. Because we'll ask her questions about the Bostons, and she's like, oh yeah, it's probably this, or try this, or do this. And I'm like, damn, she's good.
Got it on lock.
That's a good breeder.
Yeah.
She has an open line of communication with you, like for the rest of that dog's life, because she cares that much, like that's an awesome breeder. So yeah, I think with people, always look, like what it say, like adopt before you shop. Always look at a dog's temperament first. Like, does this dog's temperament complement my life and what I really want? Do I want to hang out on the couch and chill? Do I want a dog that kicks it with me? Do I want a dog that will run with me? Do I want a dog that won't eat my cats? Not to say eat, but you know what I mean. Do I have, a bunch of animals and a busy schedule? Do I want a dog that's like a hunting breed? No. Do I want this, that, and the other? Do I want a protection dog, but I have kids under 5? Or a hyper dog, so it's always look at temperament first. And I think it's always worth everybody like going to the shelters and exploring those dogs that are out there before just buying a puppy. And if you do buy a puppy, like be ready. And like my advice on puppies is there's such a limited window of opportunity. Like, you better take it right away. Like, I love it when people just take it right away and they contact me. The rare people, they're like, I'm about to get a puppy. And I'm like, yes. And they're contacting me because they're like, want to know when my next class is, and they want a consult, and they want this, that, and the other. So, like, always be proactive. And I think there's benefits to, like, puppies and adult dogs and rescue dogs. There's plenty of people who get rescue puppies. They just might miss out on a little bit of that window of opportunity for socializing. Just be a little bit more patient, because they may have come from a shelter and they learned some bad habits there.
Yeah, 13 weeks is such a small time frame to really do some work.
Yeah, there's a lot of research that talks about like what happened, what exposure was the puppy put under in like the neonatal stage too, like with the mother. Like, was she put under stress, like before the puppy was even born and stuff like that? Talk about cortisol levels and stress hormones and all.
They talk about that with people.
Yeah.
If you have a mother who is just constantly stressed out and her cortisol is always spiked, and that can transfer into the fetus.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's way above and beyond like what we could focus on with dogs, but it's something to think about.
Mm-hmm. But how would you ever be able to gauge that, especially if you just go to the shelter and you're like, if you got this dog.
Yeah, if you go to the shelter and the dog's like stressed out and neurotic, then that, there's going to be some work that needs to be done. If you're like a stressed out neurotic person, you might need to like really man up, woman up, to like make that dog calmer. Sometimes it doesn't take just like loving them. Oh, if I just like, they'll grow out of it if I just love them. It's like, no. Sometimes it's tough love. Tough love is not like hitting your dog or yelling at your dog. Tough love is like making them eat on a schedule and making them go for a walk. Levi was a real wuss when we got him. Like, I was like, oh boy. He's like, you go for a walk, and he's like, eh. And so I just like tripled down on walking him by himself and like made him do it and was like, come on, buddy, let's go. And I kept putting him into situations that he wasn't comfortable with and just gently but firmly making him do it until he got over it. And he's like a little stud now. But that didn't come
Took some work.
Didn't come without me like 4, 5, 6 days a week, like getting out there and like making him do stuff that he didn't want to do. Like I guess raising kids, but whew,
it's a lot.
It's a whole nother ball game. Like,
have you ever had a dog breed where they came and you're like, this is not, I can't, or not necessarily a breed, but a dog where it's just too far gone, or you feel pretty confident that there's always a chance to be able to turn it around?
I always have to check myself in that regard, because I a lot of times I'm very encouraging, but I've also learned over the years of working with people that my thoughts and opinion on what can be done with that dog is through my eyes, not that person's eyes. And so, like, I just had a case yesterday, a recently adopted dog from a shelter that is a breed that is not to be trifled with, and Tibetan Mastiff, and brought into a situation with, access to an elderly gentleman. And the dog is doing great other than the interaction with the gentleman. And the gentleman and him were not hitting it off. And they didn't need to be buddies, but it's a pretty confined environment. And a lot of like nervousness coming from both ends. And so
this was the dog's owner or just somebody in the class?
This is a home visit with like mediating between this newly adopted dog and this person and this other person, and saying, basically like sitting down and chatting with them about, can this work? And the one person's like, no. And the other person's like, yeah. And I'm like, if you can't both say that it can work, then I don't think it can work, because we need everybody on board, or else it's just going to keep getting more negative. Like, dogs really feed into negativity and insecurity, and they tend to just like mold to that and get worse. They don't always have the ability to like rise above like what humans are like putting on them emotionally. They're kind of like, okay, this is the way it's going to be then. A lot of dogs are like, if you give them a lot of negative feedback, they're like, okay, I'm going to be an asshole then.
We're going to go to this dark place together.
And I'll do more. I'll do it more and more and more. You tell me I'm a bad dog, I'll be a bad dog then. Like, so that's where like coming from, a lot of people are like, oh, well, I know you're just into positive reinforcement. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty tough on my dogs, but I'd like to focus more on like structure versus like being negative with my dogs. That's where the FFA comes in.
Yeah.
It's like structure their meals and their freedom, the affection that you give them, and use all those tools to give them like a really structured life so that they're not just out of control, and then you get pissed at them. And then you're telling them no all the time. So
then it just reinforces
one of my pet
that.
peeves is like just the no philosophy. It's like I'll sit down with somebody like, what cues does your dog know? They're like, my dog sucks. Like, I need your help. What do I do? What cues does your dog know? And they're like, well, no and sit. And I'm like, that's not enough communication. Your dog knows 2 words. And they're like, oh, crap. Like, you're telling me literally your dog, your communications are no and sit. That's it. Your dog needs to learn a lot more words, and you need to teach them a lot more words, and you need to have a lot more elaborate, like, deeper sense of communication with your dog than just 2 words. That's like a huge communication error issue, gap. These dogs like read body language. They read tone of voice and like eye contact, all those things. That's what they feed off of. Tone of voice, body language. Those are the 2 major ones. So like in my classes and in my private lessons, I teach people how to like use an upswing tone to your voice, be more positive. But if your dog like makes mistakes or does something bad, it's okay to be stern, but like don't hang on to that. Don't be like, no, 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 no. Like, try to show them the way to go, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's like teaching people tone of voice and when to use it and how to have the proper body language is not easy. And they're like, dogs love me. And you get that person that's like trying to like loom over the top of a dog that's nervous and anxious. And they're like, no, I don't love you.
And they're just not getting
like,
it.
No, it's okay. They love me. And it's like, no, dogs really, unless they're really friendly, they don't like it when you like lean over the top of them like that at all. It's like first thing when I met the big guy yesterday, I like, he walked up to me and I just like kind of looked at him from the side and was like super casual and like was fiddling in my bag. And he like came up and sniffed me. Kind of like you stopping when you were running, like super smart. A lot of people don't have that just natural instincts to like stop moving when a dog's like about to attack you or like almost prodding you to move so that they can attack you.
Yeah, let's go. Let's see what happens
Yeah,
here.
that's really important. And I think some people's natural instincts around animals are there and taught and learned over time, or they're not. So yeah, teaching people to have those instincts is complicated sometimes.
I would imagine.
It's a lot to pack into like a 6-week puppy course.
Yeah.
Get them for
especially
like
where you have to
an
focus
hour.
on them and the dog.
Yeah,
you
their
could
dogs.
do 6 weeks for just the person.
Yeah, I know. And then the people are like, I'm coming without my dog. I'm like,
yeah, what is this?
Yeah.
This isn't training for people, is it?
Yes, and it's really cute when people go that this is human training, not dog training. I'm like, oh, it's so cute.
It's both. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna get you both where you need to be.
Definitely.
Does that happen a lot where the dog doesn't click with the person?
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes I just look at the combo and go,
it's not going to work.
Yeah, it's hard to have that like harsh conversation with somebody like these are the things that I try not to be like it's not going to work. I try to be like this is what you are going to have to do.
You're going to have to work on it.
And you're going to have to give it a time frame and see if it'll work. And then you'll know if you can't do those things and or you give it your all and it's still not working, then maybe you're getting closer to your answer, like the hard realization that it's not going to work. There are many times when it's a poor match and I'm like, oh, what were you thinking? But it's hard to tell people that. I'm always like,
yeah, they might not take kindly to that.
No, they're coming to me for solutions, not like give your dog up, especially with so many limited resources. Like Miranda's Rescue, they're like, I believe, other than maybe some smaller rescue groups in the area, but the only like really like more established rescue in the area that will take owner relinquishments, which means like the owner comes in and hands in their dog, says I can't handle this dog anymore. And a lot of the other shelters, they don't take them. They take strays off the streets, or they'll bring in dogs from other areas, like Daisy being brought up from San Jose, from high kill shelters that will euthanize the dog within a week if they're
not
deemed
picked.
Unadoptable. And then those lines can be so blurred of what's deemed unadoptable, Like Daisy's like tied up to a telephone pole and the cops had to like rabies pull her to get her off of the pole and like into the animal control truck. Apparently, from what I heard from Jason when we did this whole reunion with them in San Jose a year after I had adopted her, he's like, yeah, well, I had her tied up and I was trying to go get Starbucks and the cops caught me for something I did wrong and they had me down in the middle of the street and they were holding me down and Daisy was freaking out because Daisy's trained to protect me. And so then him and Daisy are like ripped apart traumatically. And then of course Daisy looks vicious and totally out of control because she's freaked out seeing her owner being like, held to the ground by the cops. And so then basically from the get-go, before she even arrives to the shelter, it's like
she's spiked.
Aggressive dog. Yeah. And they're like even really trying to encourage the family, like, well, we can't even get her out of the kennel, we can't do this, we can't do that. So basically what that means is Daisy spent 7 days in a kennel in a shelter ripped from her owner, and if they feed her, if she pees or poops, if she needs water, they hose down the kennel with the dog in it because they don't feel comfortable removing the dog. So the dog gets more aggressive and they get more aggressive and more afraid and more aggressive. And so yeah, the situation with shelters in general is not like that. But when you have a dog that's pretty friggin' scary, like they're not going to put their staff. A lot of these staff members or even volunteer like at risk to be like, yeah, oh, it's cool, just walk in there.
Yeah, and then
the dog's like,
bit,
yeah, the dog's like showing you signs like Daisy was showing. I ended up like when I showed up to meet her for the first time, just like looking at her and being like, I hope this dog's bluffing. And I like turned and put my back to the fence and like stuck my hand up against the fence like flat. And then I just started shoving like my favorite dog treats lamb lung, even though it sounds disgusting, but it's just dried like lamb lung. Dogs love that shit. And I just shoved a little piece of it through the fence without my fingers getting in the way, and she took it and I was like, and I remember this from the vet clinic, barrier aggression. Like when there's a barrier there, the dog acts aggressive, but as soon as you cross the threshold, or the dog does, they click off. So I just took a deep breath and walked in the kennel and she's like, hey. And I was like, wow, this is barrier aggression, like to a T.
Is that like a territorial thing?
Yeah, it's like you're being held back. It probably started with her being tied to the owner and being encouraged to be aggressive, or he's passed out. high.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like protecting their stuff. And then in the shelter, when the shelters can be really stressful, people say, well, I'm thinking about looking for a no-kill shelter for my dog because I can't take care of him anymore. I say, most no-kill shelters, Miranda's Rescue, even though they keep the dogs outside, it's actually a lot healthier for them mentally than being in an indoor kennel, because at least they're outside with fresh air, and a lot of them have access to grass or gravel. But it's dog prison.
I was just thinking that. I was thinking
Yeah.
it's basically the human version of, or the dog
Yeah.
version of prison.
And I'm sure there's so many places out there that are doing it so well and as well as they can. They all are trying their best, and they're keeping these dogs alive. That's amazing. But for the owner it's more of like focusing on the owner, not the shelters. The shelters aren't, they're not the problem. They're trying to just keep up with the problem. The problem is the owner's thinking that, or fantasizing that this shelter or environment is going to be better for their dog than them, or them finding a home for the dog themselves. That would be the more fair thing to do, is you take the responsibility. You hang on to your dog and work with it until you can find a better home for it. There's no pie in the sky, like, amazing place where dogs are frolicking free. And even like at the best of times, like when I first started volunteering at Miranda's, I love the way Shannon had some of these spots, like big pastures, like you would basically like house a couple of horses together, and they would be in pastures together, where they would have 4 or 5 dogs together. And as long as they were getting along, that's better for them to be in a kennel by themselves on concrete. This little dog that turned out to be like one of the best dogs, I would say, like by far, that we've ever had, B was in this group setting with other dogs for about 11 months. And the first day I started volunteering at the shelter, I noticed her because she was just so unassuming. She was the cutest little pit bull mix, and she was so sweet, like a little deer. And she was so gentle, and I took her out for a walk, and I just like instantly fell in love with her. But he said, yeah, she's been here for almost a year. And I'm like, why? She's such a great dog. Like, we took her home. She snapped at the boys a couple of times because they were trying to sniff her, and she's like, no, don't sniff me. And then she curled up on her couch and slept for like 3 weeks straight. Never looked sideways at our cats, like, was fantastic. He said it was because she was just kind of like a pit bull mix. She wasn't a purebred pit, but she had some pit in her. And she would never really like come out of her little doghouse because she was just kind of shy. So she never really stole anybody's heart because she was just so kind of unassuming,
Mm-hmm.
But she was such a great dog. So I tell people, if you go to the shelter, like, look for those little diamonds in the rough. Like, those can be some of the most fantastic dogs. Like, we didn't have to raise her. We just had to build up her confidence. She was such a great dog. She was awesome. I miss B a lot because she didn't take very much work. She was like, really, we were lucky because she wanted a home, and she just wanted to be comfortable and cozy, and she appreciated it so much, It was good and bad being in a group setting because I think she got picked on so much that she just kind of hid, and so people didn't notice her.
Yeah, she was just kind of in the background.
But she had to wait 11 months for us, and I think she had it pretty good. So
yeah, worth the wait.
Yeah, absolutely. The rescue is a bad place for me to be, though, to volunteer.
I would imagine, because you're like, I'll just take them all home.
Yes.
I've got space. It's okay.
Yes. It's hard not to do rescue work nowadays. I feel bad about it a lot of times because I did so much of it, but I just try to keep thinking in terms of, like, I'm educating and trying to prevent the animals from going to a rescue facility. So that's
You're trying to stop it at the source.
It's a different aspect. That's why I do so many puppy classes per year. I try to do as many as I can. Just keep back to back, over and over and over and over and over. About 10 to 15 dogs per class every 6 weeks or so, preschool and kindergarten.
So you're moving through a lot of dogs.
A lot of dogs. Yeah, last night was like 12 in preschool, and then boom, 15 minutes, like move everything to the bigger room, and then 14 kindergartners, little maniac teenagers. And so Wednesday nights are puppy night. And it's like, we're moving, and it's like one to the next. And they get different stages of training because of their age range and stuff like that. But yeah, I try to keep those puppy classes going all year, except for a couple of holidays and a vacation coming up pretty soon. Thank God. 1 week off.
It's a good balance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, puppies are where it's at, though, if people are going to get puppies. But I also have the Canine Elementary is like the adult version of classes for adult dogs of all types. So I get a lot of rescue dogs that come in that don't know what the heck they're doing, and their owner's trying to bond with them and teach them new stuff, too. So that's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, start them young, right? And then
Oh,
you
yeah.
can save yourself a bit of a headache.
Absolutely. Like a
What do you
lot.
start with? Is it just commands like sit, stay,
Yep.
and then you work up to
Keep it simple. Like I
yeah.
always tell people, excuse me, keep it simple means like do one cue at a time and then say yes and give them a treat. And their brain connects so fast. If you're like, look, yes, treat, like within maybe 2 days, they could be across the yard and you go, look, and they're, and then all of a sudden you have a dog that's like running to you and coming to you without you having to say come. People usually screw up the recall before they get to classes because they just start saying come before the dog even knows what the hell it means. And they'll do it like from a mile away, not a mile, but the dog's like,
far enough.
for me, I'm like, do it 5 feet away and lure them to you with food and then say yes and give it to them. Come, treat. Over and over and over. Pretty soon, 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet. They don't know distance at first. They call it the 3 Ds of dog training is distance, distraction, and duration. So distance is like how far away. Distraction is like, well, at home. He does it at home. I said, I believe you. But there's not 12 other puppies at
Yeah,
home.
we're not at home anymore.
Yeah, we're at the Veterans Building, and there's echoing, and there's like all these smells, and there's people and dogs and barking and chaos, and you can desensitize them to that, though, so that you can take your dog to a barbecue or to the beach or on vacation with you, or just walk them down the street, and they won't freak out over everything. And then, like, duration is the time frame. So, like, I start out with these dogs, like, they'll be in the front of the classroom as a puppy in a crate while I'm training classes because they don't have the ability to stay. They don't know how to stay. So they're just taking it all in their crate. But over the period of like now Rose is 4, I say stay and I walk all around. I can leave the room. I can do this, that, and the other. And she's just staying on her bed. But that takes time and like work and consistency on the 3 Ds over time. Like keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And also praising it, not setting the bar too high and like having them fail. It's like, it's not college. It's like preschool.
Yeah, you got to start with the basics and work up. Yeah, I can see people getting frustrated, like, it's not happening fast enough.
Yeah, they get frustrated easily, and then the dogs do weird things. It's like talking about potty training last night. Don't rub their nose in it. If you find it down the hallway.
That's so funny. That's what I was always told. Was, you gotta. If they shit in the house, you just rub their nose in it, and then you take them outside.
What happens is they just the next time they need to go potty, all they connect in their little brain is they got really mad the last time I went potty. So they get weirder and weirder about what they do. They'll just start hiding, going down the hallway, going behind the couch. They get all freaked out. Some dogs will get it with negative reinforcement, but a lot of dogs won't and make it way harder. I do the human analogy. I'm like, a lot of you have kids. So if your little kid is like 6 months old and they poop in their diaper, are you going to rub their nose in it and tell them no and then put them on an adult's toilet? And they're like, think of that, like their age and a baby or a toddler and having to like give your toddler a piece of candy because they use the little potty and stuff like that. Like people say that all the time, like, yeah, this is like just like positive reinforcement with my toddler. And I'm like, yeah, it's the same mindset, the same age range. No, dogs aren't kids, but the same stuff works. Little treat, little yes, they start gravitating more and more towards being good.
So with potty training, what would you do? Would you just take them outside and then give them a treat and say,
yeah, first of all, crate train your dog because they don't know not to go in the house. Don't use potty pads. Like potty pads, if you put that up to your face, it feels like fabric. It feels like blankets, rugs, carpet. So you're actually teaching your dog not only that it's okay to go inside the house, but that they should gravitate towards a square, soft fabric item. So it's acclimation to a surface. Yeah, and I actually like use them in classes and I have like boxes and boxes of them because people bring them in all shameful and like, here, take them. Because I use them to clean up messes in class after convincing them not to use them anymore. Crate training teaches the dog to hold their potty.
They won't go in the crate.
If it's not too big. If your puppy came from a puppy mill where they were stuck in a crate, and in a bad situation, they were forced to have to pee and poop in their crate, there's something wrong there. If your puppy's peeing and pooping and walking in it and stomping in it, you should look at where they started their life in squalor. possibly, most likely. But most puppies that were raised properly, they gravitate away from messing their bed. You know, they don't want to mess up their environment, their den.
Because then they're stuck in it.
Yeah. So having a crate just big enough for them to like be able to like whimper and vocalize when they have to go out, like at night and for short periods of time during the day. You don't want to use a crate for too long, obviously. You know, they shouldn't be in it for during the day for longer than like 3 or 4 hours when they're a baby like that. I think a maximum of 5 hours is fair. You need to get home and change your lifestyle or change the way you manage your dog if you're going to be gone for longer than that. I've had some people that will admittedly say like, yeah, my dog's in a crate for 8 hours. I'm like, that's too long during the day. At night, when they're sleeping and you're there and you can hear them if they have to go, that's one thing. Most dogs can hold it all night and they got a nice cozy crate. They're not being harmed by being in a crate in your bedroom sleeping at night. But during the day, that's too long.
To be cooped up like that.
To be cooped up. Yeah, then you just get all kinds of other issues. But like nothing compares to just going out with your dog and like patting your leg and saying, let's go potty, and having them go to the door where you want them to go out to, teach them to go, and then take a treat or two or even just a piece of kibble out of your pocket and say, yes, good potty. So they learn the words after you repeat it. And if you keep it positive with those words, unless it's like no or leave it or off for jumping or ow if they're biting you, those are like the negative terms. But the rest should be like positive. Yeah, because they totally feed off tone of voice. If you're like, Rose, come here, she's gonna be like, I don't think that's a good idea. You sound pissed off.
Yeah, I don't know if I should go next to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, Rose is tooting over here. It's not
she's
me.
Having a good time.
It's Rose. Yeah,
she's having a good time.
She's back in the REM state, and yeah, that happens with these Bostons sometimes.
That's all part of the fun, though. You know.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Janna, we could wrap. We've done 3 hours. I don't know if you have.
Nice.
I don't know
That's
if you have
awesome.
somewhere to be or anything.
Just to feed the horse.
Thank you for the awesome sake.
Oh, you're welcome.
Ginjo sake?
Ginjo?
Ginjo?
Yeah,
Ginjo
Junmai Ginjo, I think.
Ginjo
I'm
sake?
probably messing it up too.
Definitely recommend people go out and try that because it was really good. That was a great introduction to sake.
The Junmai version is nice.
That's
and there's so many different. Yeah, it's my favorite. When you get hot sake at the Japanese restaurant, it's usually like the low grade. It's like the box of Franzia version of sake.
Yeah.
But yeah, most sake should be served cold. So put that sucker in the fridge or put a little ice cube in it later. You'll like it even more probably.
Okay, I'll have to try that.
Yes.
That was awesome.
And the crystal should hopefully bring you
I was gonna ask,
positive energy.
Is there anything behind that? Thank you for the awesome crystal.
You're welcome.
And the cat, by the way.
Oh, it's a quartz geode I got from Chapman's Gem and Mineral Shop. And I think everybody should have them in their space. And I took that out of my collection. I feel like it's, I don't know, I prefer instead of just going and shopping for them to like give somebody some things you do with crystals to help them because they're supposed to be cleansing for your space. Is that well, first I didn't have time to go to the ocean, which I love it when I get really crystal nerd. Like I will take a handful of crystals to the beach or to running water. Creeks, rivers are fantastic, and actually cleanse them with the water. But then, so what I did, I just rinsed it off in the old sink.
Oh, that counts.
But I put it out in the sun. So what sunlight does is it regenerates whatever negative energy, toxins, or emotions or whatever's going through the area. The crystals are supposed to absorb that energy, take it away from the atmosphere, and take it on. But they need to be recharged. So recharging them with sunlight. And that's it's something I always do before I give somebody a crystal. It's
you recharge it.
Yeah, it doesn't have any of our Campillo Casa juju on it anymore. It's yours now.
Okay, so I'll have to put it in some sunlight eventually so that it can get cleansed.
Yeah, the more people you have in the more difficult stuff
that'll
you
be
discuss.
Good. I'm sure I've had some guests on that could be cleansed, and I'm sure I'll have more on in the future, and so that'll be a good.
It's fully charged right now.
I'll just start scooting it closer to them.
Yeah, so if you like have a tough session with somebody, be like,
we're gonna bust this thing over the side.
We need to set you over in the sun for a bit, or take it on a little trip to the beach with you one day.
Boost the power. Yeah, and then you wash it. Do you have to wash it in the ocean? Is that like a recharging thing too?
No, it's just more like the extra awesomeness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ours had a little dust on it, a little, like I said, little Campillo dust. Crystals are great though, and I love Chapman's. If you ever get down, just it's between Fortuna and Rio Del.
Yeah, drive past it.
It's like the guys in there are incredible too. I mean, you could point to anything and they could give you like the full legit version of like exactly what every crystal, meaning if you look up quartz crystals though, like quartz are just a really good like general across the board like good energy crystal. So, and lucky cats are just awesome. Like I've got one here which
Oh yeah.
Lucky cats are just good stuff,
Well, sweet.
It bring you money and you'll have to look it up. I can't remember, right paw or left paw. There's different meanings.
Okay.
Yeah, like there's money, I think, or happiness. A lot of the places in Japan and stuff like that, they have the one, and I can't remember which arm. I'm not going to pretend to be the pro, but is wealth or money versus power or happiness or something like that. So I just picked that guy out randomly for you.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you. That is so cool. I'm excited.
You're welcome.
I think that adds to the space.
Absolutely.
We'll have to keep them there.
Yeah, fill it up.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to have to start adding stuff to the table now.
Definitely. We'll set the bar now. We need to start bringing you better gifts.
Yeah, now I'm going to start looking at guests like, okay, what did you bring?
Yeah.
No.
Well, this is my day off, so I wanted to have fun.
Yeah, I'm glad. Thank you so much for coming on. I had a great time talking with you.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to get you back. We'll have to finish up some more sake.
That sounds good. Oh, yeah.
Do you want to plug where people can find you, where they can find your canine training?
Redwood Coast Canine Academy. I know I'm not easy to get a hold of these days. That's the biggest issue.
Have a little patience. We're going to get there.
Patience. People that are committed to waiting and seeing it through. Also looking ahead. I just got the website revamped and updated. It is a little archaic, so I had the guy working on it, and we had some snags, like my personal calendar being uploaded versus my work calendar. So we worked through that stuff.
A little hitch.
I'll be updating and starting some really fun new stuff, like the elementary hiking version of class. We'll be doing some hiking classes in August, and puppy preschool and kindergarten rotate every 6 to 7 weeks all year long, and hopefully be offering some classes in the fall on the weekends, some of my shorter 3-week courses like Back to Basics and Canine Fundamentals, which is a clicker class out at the ranch in Ferndale again. So I'll try to keep updating that website, and anybody who's having behavioral issues with their dogs, the best way is to email me at redwoodcoastcanine, K and the number 9 at gmail.com. But I've got my Instagram is Redwood Coast Canine, and Facebook, same thing. And you can see all the pictures of everybody having a great time and all the dogs and that I work with. And you'll see some horse pictures and chicken and dog pictures and, cat pictures too. So I integrate a little bit of the personal life in there as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Janna, you're awesome. Thank you for doing this. Rose, thanks for tagging along.
Yeah, Rose is ready for a break.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.